It's a guy, a car, and a podcast.
It's a guy, a car, and a podcast.
It's a guy, a car, and a podcast.
It's a guy, a car, and a podcast. Buckle up. I mean, you don't even actually, the video feed is just me being an overachiever, which is also, I'm getting rid of the pillow. It's
bothering you.
Out of here. I mean, a lot of podcasts don't bother with that, because why would you? Because, I mean, the majority of people consuming a podcast are doing so, like, through iTunes or through Google Play or whatever. It's all audio, and they'll probably never, I feel like the only people that even watch the YouTube stuff are like, if you're watching like clips from Joe Rogan's show, because he has a bunch of famous people on, or just whatever. So this is more an experiment, and like, do people care that much about seeing it? But I feel like you like are on the side of the argument where I think people would like enjoy, and it's not even just that you're pretty, which is certainly part of it, but like, there's an energy about you that's not just oral. Like, you're very expressive and different things. So, although some of the guests I've had on here have just droned on, and it's just been like whatever, but there's still a video of them up there. Like, I was extra excited about this one because you're a very unique human.
Oh, thank you.
But also, I don't have any like, hello folks, welcome to the blah blah. Like, we literally have already started and we're just
rolling with it.
Talking, so.
I love it. I don't know what my shirt's doing, and I just hope there's no like peepholes here. Sometimes these button-up shirts.
I mean, this might be a weird place to start, but can we talk about
absolutely
what's going on? Like, because I feel like the you that I remember from a few years ago wouldn't have been worrying about all of that. Is that new? Are you pretty...
like... you were talking about, like, insecurity-wise?
I guess. It feels like that to me. It feels like you're insecure about...
About this? I think it's... Sometimes I feel like it's more of a... I'm slightly insecure about whatever, but it's just, like, joking and makes it light, and it makes it, like... Okay, now I'm comfortable making fun of myself. Now I'm comfortable.
And you get to a place of comfort? Because I can make light of myself, but when I'm by myself, all the jokes come back and they make me feel bad about me, and my self-esteem gets terribly affected. So really, me making fun of myself is exclusively for the benefit of everybody else, because I'm going to hurt later. I'm going to hurt my own feelings just by trying to play into a social situation, and it doesn't benefit me.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, for me, like, teasing and whatever, like, that's always been a thing with my family and the way that I grew up, and it's just, like, for me, I've always kind of dogged on myself in ways, and I feel like that's kind of, like, a common thing, I guess, people would say for comedians, like, oh, they're just hiding something, because, so they're funny because they're hiding this, and, I mean, partly sometimes that's true, and then partly it's just, like, for me, it's just... I embrace myself more when I acknowledge the things that I almost don't like, whether it's clothes, whether it's my body, whether it's my, sometimes they're deeper, like where I feel bad about myself later and I just want to cry and whatever. But for the most part, I mean, on the lighter notes, it's like, hey, it's out there, it's acknowledged. Now if you decide to make fun of me, that's fine because I already did it. So, like, I already... addressed it, I addressed the topic, like, so if things get noticed later or people want to point it out later, then it's like, oh, well, that's fine, I already knew that, or I already said that, and that's just more of like a mental, like, in my head, not like that ever actually really happens, or someone's like, your buttons are opening, and blah,
I can't imagine it would, because again, you're just like you're such a kind person. That doesn't mean you can't be like sociable and funny and joke around with people, but you're just. I don't think I've ever met anybody who has any kind of like malice toward you. Like everyone, either they just don't care that you exist, which I've never seen, or they're just enamored by you. So it would be interesting for me to see somebody that like
hates me,
or just even like wants to take a stab at anything about you. But then again, I don't know. I mean, you got exes like we all do. There's
we all got exes.
Drama.
Yeah, no. Honestly, I feel like I stab at myself more than anybody else would. So, if that makes any sense.
I think it does.
Yeah, so I think I sometimes create enemies out there when there really isn't, probably, and I don't know. So, for me, I for sure, like, I go at my own throat before anybody else can, you know? So, but yeah, I mean, overall, like, I don't have, like, a lot of enemies. I don't like enemies. I don't like confrontation. I don't like angry people. I'm like, let's settle down, you know? But at the same time, like, I have my own anger that I don't address and deal with, you know? So it's like, me, now I'm trying to be comfortable with being upset. And that's a new thing for me because, I mean, I've been raised where it's like, you don't get mad about things. Like, you know, it's just anger was something you suppress. So for me, it's like, hey, like, I can have feelings. I can be upset. Like, that's healthy. So for the most of the people that are out there in my life, it's like, I don't like to be angry with people, you know, or create upset.
Which is interesting because like rage or anger feels good.
Yeah, I mean, people...
Like there's that whole Benedict Cumberbatch movie, the...
Imitation Game?
Yes, where like his character makes the point multiple times. Do you know why people, you know, are violent or whatever? He's like, because it feels good. Mm-hmm. Like it does. There's
people get something
power,
from it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, whether it's control, whether it's like, it's. I mean,
you don't latch on to those feelings.
Well, I don't say them. I don't say that they don't exist, or I don't enjoy them, or I don't feel them. I mean, I think that now it's like. I get a little bit more pumped with my anger because I'm like, oh, I recognize there's some anger there. But that's like me understanding my own thoughts instead of being like, no, I'm not angry. This is why. And I try to like, you know, reason with my mind, you know. And so I have a weird, I don't know.
I don't think that's weird. I think that's mature. Don't you think? Like to get angry and to not just express it like a 2-year-old. To actually like reason with your brain to like I don't know, for the tumblers to all get dealt with individually like a lock and a key. But I mean isn't that what it is? I
mean there's some sort of separation in my mind to where I either and I will admit I'm a sort of a passive aggressive person. So I've grown up passive aggressive parents. Like my mom is the most passive aggressive person ever, but she's so sweet. Right? So for me, it's just you always, instead of getting angry, you figure out a different way to be upset. I don't know how to describe it.
Different way, but not more manipulative or not more like source. You're not looking for like subtleties or trying to be even more passive aggressive. You're looking for an actually like what do you explain different way of?
I don't know. Now we're getting like. We're dissecting things even more where it's like a little brain farty. It's like, how do you even... I don't know. I mean, I would say that I'm... With the way that I'm trying to retrain my mind right now with anger, passiveness, like, because passive aggressiveness is like... I mean, just be straight up about your problems or be straight up about whatever, you know, if it's good or bad, just be straight up. And passive aggressiveness is not, right? It's not really straight up. And by being passive, you avoid some sort of confrontation in a way, right? So it makes sense for me to be naturally a more passive aggressive person, but all that has done in the last 3 years has just it's made my life more difficult by being more passive, right? And not learning to be more direct with my feelings or my thoughts, whether it's upset or some sort of anger. I don't necessarily get angry unless, you know, like something really, really happened.
Yeah.
But now I'm just learning to reroute my mind, and sometimes that makes it more difficult to naturally react because I stop myself from
there's
reacting.
An actual
yeah.
in the moment rerouting, like you're.
Well, and I get afraid of like I don't want to hurt someone. I don't want to, and I know that I can be damaging, and I'm sort of like more aware of that now because of like the thoughts that go through my head when I realize I'm angry. And I'm like, wow, if I said that out loud, that would be painful. Like, I wouldn't like to hear that, you know? Like, I know what my words can do, and, you know, so, like, if I'm not careful in the way that I react, I can be quick to pain for someone else, you know, or quick to hurt feelings or whatever, and then it leaves me hurt. And so it doesn't make any sense for me to react right away, although sometimes it's healthy because you get it out.
Yeah.
But if the other person isn't willing and open to receiving that message or feeling that you're wanting to share, then it just can cause some chaos in a way. You know, it's just like,
and is there any argument for like
better, you
the
know?
immediacy of the reaction being the most authentic, or?
Yeah, sometimes I feel like that's a little bit more of your true feelings, allowing yourself to react. Well, I wouldn't say true feelings because that's your initial reaction. I feel like comes from something that's not. It's almost like it's not necessarily your true feelings.
It's like you're triggered, and that trigger is attached to some past
Something
experience
else, right.
that has nothing to do with what's going on right now, but
right.
you're triggered
or
by that.
Person, exactly.
Yeah.
So
okay.
It doesn't make sense to react, but it does for most humans because I want, you know, this is how I'm feeling. But I mean, you'll notice like in some conversations that you'll have with people, if they do react, they'll naturally come back and be like, hey, I didn't really mean that. Right? That's like kind of, that's what people say when they react. I didn't mean it. So
yeah.
Why go through that whole process of like, say all these things to make me feel better, get angry, I want to, you know, whatever, make you feel like crap, you know, all that stuff, like, and then really not mean it.
You know what's interesting to me about that? About myself? I feel like I also, probably due to my own family environment and being the middle child and things, I think I also developed passive-aggressive tendencies. And in the last, like, maybe 5+ years, my method of counteracting that is to just say what's on my mind in the moment and to not apologize. To just like let it, and if it's going to hurt somebody or whatever, I'm happy to have a bigger conversation about where I was coming from, why I felt that, what they were coming from, and validating what they're feeling and all that, although most people don't have the time or desire to go through all of that conversation. But I have found that being that
authentic,
forward with my thoughts, yeah, it does tend to like turn people off more than I think that I assumed it would.
And I think that's what's funny is that people are so, because I love that you said that, because that's something that is also something that I'm trying to be better at, is just sharing my feelings, whether they be good or bad, because sometimes it's way better to just get it out there and then have a conversation about it. Because you're right, like, if that person cares about you, they'll listen to you, they'll hear what you have to say, regardless of whether or not they feel the same way, but they're willing to have a conversation with you, you know, because they care about you. They want to know how you feel, right? Yeah. And if you're upset and they did something to make you upset, then they should want to know furthermore, right? So I guess there's like two ways. I mean, I don't know what the healthiest way is. It's probably just healthier to just say what you have to say, but also monitor how you say it. Our
biggest desire out of any interaction that we have with anybody is that we are received pleasantly. Right.
Everyone wants to be seen good, wants to, you know, like, feel good about themselves. They want you to feel good about them. They want, you know, it's all just trying to get, you know, someone to like you, or, you know, not be like just, I don't know how to, I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I guess the irony of my own journey to both speak what's on my mind and also my underwriting desire to be received pleasantly is with my job, and I listen to like podcasts all day long and music and audiobooks and stuff like that. The podcasts that I listen to, generally speaking, are hosted by comedians, and the comedians specifically that I'm drawn to are the more aggressive ones, the more like in your face, like the Daniel Tosh's, Tom Segura, Patton Oswalt, on and on and on. Just all these really Louis C.K., these like line pushing comics. And so what happens is I'm installing in my social software every day a way of thinking that reflects their senses of humor, and then regurgitates in the way that I talk to people. And what I don't realize until after I've already caused the problem is these people go into a comedy space, into like a comedy club, and they engage an audience with really, these sharp observations and whatever about society and stuff. But the people that are in that club sought out that club, paid money to get in that club, and have come ready to be challenged and ready for somebody to be really whatever. The world isn't interested in being challenged and pushed around like that.
Watch or listen, and that's fine, but don't.
So I'm bringing all this like really aggressive stuff out into the world conversationally, and everybody's just like, "Ew, no, I don't think like that at all." And then I'm stuck. I put myself in a corner where things that I think are funny or observations that I share that perspective because of the way this comedian has expressed it, makes me feel so different than everybody. Because for them, it's just on stage or it's just on their podcast. Like they're just being that way because it's entertaining and you're tuning in to be entertained. I turn it into a personality where I take it out into the world and I use all of that that triggering, verbiage and syntax and what have you on just innocent passerbys, just innocent people, and it doesn't go well. And then I'm surprised when I'm
not received
looked down on, or just people are just like, oh, well, we're gonna take off. We'll see you later. And
let's not talk.
And then at the end of the day, I'm like, wow, I'm not a.
But is that your norm? Is that your natural personality? Like, or is that just you're just taking from what you heard and learned and just trying it on other people? Or is that like your natural whatever? So are they rejecting you, or are they rejecting your pretend humor?
Honestly, I think I might be filtering my anger into like this comedic means of expressing myself. And so instead of just telling people the things that I'm actually mad about or just whatever, I'll make, just jokes that are intended to.
A joke. Are you allowed to do that? Can you tell me? Give me an example of a joke.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it's just really conversation. A lot of it's in the moment. Sometimes I'm just outright in a conversation. I'm just like, dude, this person said this really funny thing. I guess an example, the other night I was at my house. I live with my little sister and her husband, and we were talking about, like they were cleaning out their kitchen or something like that, and our conversation just got to a point where I was reminded of a bit that Louis C.K. did like 3 or 4 specials ago, where he talks about how like he has like these 2 different competing mental processes. Where he thinks, where he accepts a thought that's like, this is the correct way to think. This is like a moral way to think.
Right.
But he also can occupy a socially unacceptable opposition to that thought. And he calls it, of course, but maybe. And he goes through this process of explaining what it is, where he's like, so an example, he's like, of course, peanut allergies are a rough thing. Like, these kids need to be monitored, their food needs to be monitored, we need to protect these kids.
Right.
Of course. But maybe, if you touch a peanut and die, maybe you should be dead. And he goes with like, just, like the examples get more and more hideous. Like, he's just like, of course, these people that go across the ocean and fight for our country and die, of course that's a tragedy. Of course. But maybe maybe if you pick up a gun and you go to another place with the intent of killing somebody and you get shot and killed in the process, it's a little bit your fault. And
Yes.
and then he basically just says that, like, of course slavery was an awful thing,
Right.
but maybe anything great that's ever been done in the history of mankind has been done with slaves. So maybe, there's no limit to what you accomplish if you don't give a fuck about a certain people. Just throw death and genocide at a certain problem. Like, it's funny to me, but expressing that in an atmosphere with these two people, they were just like, ugh. Like, just,
They were like...
there wasn't even a piece of them that even enjoyed the possibility of humor there. And it's just situations kind of like that, where something in a moment can strike me either from my own perspective or something I heard that I thought was funny and that I think someone else might enjoy. And I don't realize until sharing it that, like, most people just don't dig thinking like this. They don't dig going to those places and seeing things in really dark ways.
Well, I feel like... Agreed. I feel like people don't know how to deal with that. They don't know how to deal with the past or just like the harder things that happened in life.
Mm-hmm.
And some people are trying to make humor of it.
Yeah.
And those people don't know how to deal with it because, well, they just don't have that humor. I mean, maybe they're like, oh, that's disrespectful. Blah, blah, blah. There are people out there that are like that, and there are people who will laugh at all of the different kinds of racial jokes, whatever. That's not to say that it's, like, appropriate or very respectful against whatever it is. But, I mean, when you're sharing it, it's kind of your choice to share it, and it's your choice to receive whatever you get back. Yeah. So,
which is
way,
funny.
it's
I
all an individual...
In comparison to what the comedian's doing, the comedian does it on their stand-up special in a room of people that came to see them, and they do it to uproarious applause.
Comedy.
I'm doing it on a stage of just human conversation, and I'm bombing with it because the people that I'm doing it to don't think that way. So really, I'm just experiencing the comedic experience of bombing because I'm not, reading the room, or maybe I just prefer to push people. Yeah. I would rather be like, this is funny, and I'm going to deliver it as best I can, because Louis can do it better, but I'm going to give it my best delivery, and we're going to have a laugh about this. Realize that I know, I'm with him. Like, Louis not saying, screw people with peanut allergies or hooray for slavery. He's saying, I acknowledge that these things are awful. But I'm just sharing with you that my brain, because I'm a comedian, also goes to the other end and justifies it and plays the devil's advocate or just gets on the other side of the debate. And so it's
almost like a everything happens for a reason type of comedy where he's like, here's the facts and here's the opinion about it, right? Yeah. And then here's the facts. Yeah. It's like everything happens for a reason, but like slavery happened, and guess what came out of it? There was a reason that happened, and look what happened.
But, human greed,
not to say it was great,
and pride, and all. Yeah,
not
for
to
sure.
say that it's
not at all.
Whatever, but
not condoning it for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, there are a lot of things in history. I guess I feel like now I'm on a history kick, but there's a lot of things in history that we don't agree with now. We wouldn't ever do. For sure. Right? And that's the difference. Yeah. We're not doing it anymore. And it's not okay. Yeah. But back then it was. Yeah. And you kind of have to acknowledge, like, what it was back then for the good and the bad. Like, I mean, it's hard to justify because it's such like a shaky line to walk on.
I think we're becoming so anxious to, like, own all of this new empowerment, which is great, and women's rights and all this stuff's going on.
So many things.
But, like, in the process, we're trolling history. Like, we just spend all our time being like, oh, those piece of crap people. No, they weren't. Like, it was just, there was different things acceptable back then. There was different things that nobody thought. Like, there was a time when some people were born into slave-owning families, and when you're raised in that stuff, you were probably raised by a slave. There was probably like a nanny or something that was assigned to you, so you have a relationship with them where, although legally speaking, they're property, and I think you acknowledge that, you also don't, unless you're taught by your parents to, like, be racist and, like, hate them as, like, lower creatures, they are like people to you. I get that feeling, like the help and different things where it shows that both sides of the coin exist. There are people that are just hateful and vicious and let's build a separate bathroom for them because, they have diseases and all this really interesting logic. And then there's the other side where it's like, I was raised by Constantine. Like these are people, and I would love because I have to assume that both sides of the coin have existed deep into American slavery. Like even the ones that didn't ever question slavery, like it was just a part of what they grew up with, and so it's a part of how they thought the world worked. Even when people came with these anti-slavery ideas and were trying to shut it down, they weren't instantly just like, oh, you're right, this is wrong. They were like,
nope.
I treat my slaves, well. They have a place to sleep. They have, well might be a strong word for some people's ears, but they're tended to. I'm not doing it you're trying to take something away from me, and I'm actually not doing anything wrong because they're just so ingrained in it that to them it's normal. You're trying to force them into a new normal, and they're like, wait, what's bad about slavery? I don't get this because I'm making money, and they're at least smiling at me. I don't know that's because I'm they're subservient to me and that they're afraid of me. But I also that it gets into psychology and things that we really probably couldn't understand unless there was deep journals or something that was really explaining how. The point is that I think we've become so empowered by these very recent shifts in the social paradigm that we've just started crapping on things that we don't even understand fully. And I think stand-up comedy is starting to take swings at that. Dave Chappelle, most of his comedy now is just could we really talk for a second about discrimination and about what the black people have gone through? And he's totally pissed off the LGBTQ community because there's been a rise in that community of now that same-sex marriage is legal, and now there's a lot of equality that's happening there. Now they're just all right, I want you to call me by my pronoun. I want you there's all this stuff happening, and there's even maybe a minor, but a vocal vehemence about we as a community not reacting fast enough to that and getting on board fast enough. And Dave's just hey, could you get in line? Because there's some of us people, some of races, Jews, black people, etc. We still don't have equality in the way that you're demanding that you should get it. So hop back there, and it's aggressively funny in the way that he's pointing it out. But that's where we're at. I think is
everyone's just trying to be the same, and the hard part about it is that with everybody fighting for equality and the same, they also tend to push they're better.
Yes.
And that's what I struggle with, and why I don't really get into it is because I'm all about everyone, just getting whatever it is that they need, just having individuality, having all the rights and whatever. But there's a difference between feeling the same as another human and then also feeling then demanding it, right? So it's there are people who are demanding equality and demanding that you treat me better and whatever, but it's well, do you see the person next to you that's totally normal, regular human, whatever, and they're not trying to be better than you. They just want to be the same.
Yeah.
Whatever. It's just people with these hardcore, I don't know, whatever it is that they're fighting for, whatever it is, they're all fighting for the same, but at the same time trying to win more.
It's the weirdest tug of war match that's ever happened.
Yeah, and I feel it's causing a lot of chaos in our society in a way, or it's going to trickle into chaos.
That's interesting that you point out the betterness, because I don't think I even noticed it until you said it, that they may not intend to, but
It's like they're trying to overcompensate.
for their voice to get heard, they feel
have
like
to go up here.
it's got to be louder than everybody.
Which
so
makes so much sense.
it's like to cross the finish line of achieving what it is that they're doing, they have to, at least for a minute, actually be better than everybody else. And then
You
they're
have
just
to
assuming that
suppress
once
the
I've
line.
achieved better and now I'm being recognized, I'll settle back into equal. And I don't think what they realize is like, once you see equal, you're going to realize that you were a lot closer to equal before than how you feel being better. And you're going to realize in that moment, whether you want to admit it or not, that what you actually want is better. It's not equal. I want to be.
You want more.
I want to be supreme above all of this stuff.
You want to be the best, and that's fine. But
bananas, it's not. Is it?
It's fine that you feel that way. It just doesn't mean, you know.
It's not fine with us.
It's just like, well.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing with women's rights. You know, it's just as women's rights grew, or all the feminists out there, you know, it's not to say that they're wrong, but at the same time, they're really suppressing the men. You know, it's the same thing, like with trying to win and win and win, you're suppressing them. And just think about like where you were and what you were fighting for and like what you kind of just did to somebody else. Like imagine that they were still doing that to you if you're, you know, women, whatever. And men are like, no, women, you shouldn't, you know, feel equal or whatever.
Yeah.
You shouldn't feel empowered. I don't know what it is, but I don't get into these things, obviously. I just feel things about them. I'm just like,
I don't think I could have like
just take emotions out of it.
statistically predicted the effects that the Me Too movement had on males, because even those of us that are decent, that maybe haven't had like a ton of relationships or haven't really been even sexually active with like a ton of women, all of us just sort of like lean back in our seat a bit and we're like double checking our you know, our recollection of these encounters and being like, was that okay? Was that consensual? Was she on board with that?
And it really, really makes men question their position.
And are now terrified. Men
exactly. They don't want to open the door for
every
somebody.
Time,
like, is that going to be, you know, am I making you feel less of a woman? Like, if I treat you okay? Like, or if I give you a compliment, am I not allowed to do that anymore?
Right.
Like, can I not make you feel special because you feel like you're supposed to be that person? You know, it's just...
And connect that to
really
like
confusing
the whole
roles in the world.
LGBTQ, the whole like, I want to identify this way, like the United States of America is just so oversensitized now. You just can't say you everything. Even on this podcast, sometimes I'll find myself going to say something, and I've got to sort of like start with a disclaimer. No, I'm not saying to like try to tamp down the troll. Why? Why do I have to like spare people's feelings when I'm just about to make a point? Like, give me a minute. Like, hear me out. It's almost like I don't count on people hearing me out. I count on them hearing me begin into a tender area and just coming down on it and being like, don't you, without the trust of like, give me a minute to get to the other end of my point and maybe you'll
like,
feel justified by what I'm talking about.
Gosh.
Hate it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the more things that show up in this world that everyone's fighting for, like there's good in all of it, right? There's good in religion. There's good in, you know, the LGBTQ. There's good in women. There's good in male. You know, it's just, I just would like everyone to just love each other a little bit more, and just be open to, like, why? I mean, you can have your own opinions, and I guess that I can't necessarily say I would love for everyone to love, because then that would be me trying to take on control. Like, I can't make somebody love me. I can't make somebody choose my way or make sure that, you know, like, hey, you're okay with how I live my life, right? Like, you're not? Okay, well, let's fix it. Like, well, no, that's their agency. Like, they can choose if they disagree with you. And I think that's the hard thing, is that everybody is fighting for something and they're forgetting that everyone is fighting for something.
That's such a good way to put
You
that.
know,
Yes.
you're fighting for your freedom, so am I.
Yep.
Let's do it together. But
You're so busy sharpening your own sword that you don't realize that, like, so are they.
It's just like, we're going to ruin each other.
Yeah.
We are literally going to tear each other apart one day because of all the labels that we put on each other or, change. It's just, the world struggles with change in different ways like this, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, when you're talking about pronouns, it's just, I've always struggled with, not struggled, I think it's great if somebody wants themselves to be labeled a certain way for their own comfort, that's fine. But don't be mad at me if I forget.
Yes.
Or
didn't even know in the first place.
Exactly.
Like, how are we supposed to keep up with all this
correct
junk?
me and I'll respect that. And I will try to remember, but please also respect that I'm trying to remember.
Especially since some of these pronouns, like, don't even make syllabic sense. Like, they're just made up words. I'm like, you want me to...
People want to make up a word.
In a situation where it's like, oh, I went with her to the bank. Now I gotta say I went with...
Her?
You, to the... Like, it doesn't even... Like,
it's not
the English
English language
has been put together to flow in a certain way, and the words you're
adding
creating...
a new language to everybody's normal language.
Are just a speed bump in our, like, vocabulary, and then you want us... Then you want the right to come down on us when we're just like, when we like side eye that, when we're just like, what?
Right.
Oh, so you're not gonna... Listen, dude, like, I'll call you Geppetto if you want. Just, you gotta, like, you need to see
that you're changing
that this
for
doesn't
everyone around
work. You gotta see that, like, I can't speak in Gangnam Style. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I have to get, like... Help me find comfort, a comfortable way in to this thing that you need. And if there isn't one,
then forgive me.
Then realize that, like, I'd love to be called all sorts of things that I actually am, but most people will just call me...
Or not to be called things.
Or not to be called...
Right.
But in that, I deal with that too. I mean, I don't know, some girls don't like being called chicks. But some people just come from...
Right,
that's
or
a bad example,
even like a woman doesn't want to be called a girl. You know, it's like, that's an example. It's like, I'm not a girl, I'm a woman.
Mm-hmm.
It's like...
But just like the lady that like works at the Circle K by like where I work at, she calls everybody like sweetie and honey.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, that's where she comes from. Am I really just going to be like, listen, my pronoun is sir? Like, why? Why would I put... her who's just loving the world, just being a sweet, wonderful light to the world. Why am I going to enforce... What am I getting out of enforcing that? Am I getting comfort in being called what I want to be called, or am I getting power? And that's what I think it is. I think it's just people that are like, you know what, here's my moment. I've felt powerless my whole life. I felt like I don't have control over anything. Here's my moment to step up and take control. And because of the movement, everyone will bow to me. Because everyone's so hypersensitive now, they're trying not to offend anybody or to be seen as offending anybody, that I now can just drive this car off a cliff. Right. And we're letting them. We the ones that could just be like, hey, how about you quit that? We're just like, I don't want to be the guy that's saying I quit that, because there's enough people, at least vocally on the other side of the argument, that are going to drown me in like frustration, and then my passive aggressiveness kicks in, and I'm just like, JK, you keep being you, I'll keep calling you you.
Right, which is fine. I mean, I think that if someone feels the need to correct somebody, that's them, and that's something that they're dealing with. I mean, whether it's something that they have been fighting for their whole lives, and they want it. They want that name that they were, whether it's gay, straight, bi, asexual, gender neutral, like, just all the different options out there.
There's a lot.
There's a lot. They, them, whatever, like all that kind of stuff. That. I mean, it's just somebody... They just want that control and power over themselves, and I don't find anything wrong with that. I think
There's nothing.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with them saying, respectfully saying, hey, like, this is actually what I prefer to be called.
Yeah.
And then giving them a chance. It's just the equal exchange of,
That's something that's actually been bothering me a lot, where it's like, considering we, the normies, let's just call us the normies, the ones that have just sort of like fallen in with society, considering we have wants too, we have things that we want that maybe we're not getting, but we've just, let that be and moved on with our lives. If you're going to exact your right to be identified a certain way, how do you balance the scale? What are we getting in return? The thing that we want, that we have been just accepting that we're not going to get all these years, and now all of a sudden you, based on some movement, have some sort of social right to exact something of me. Balance the scale. What do I get that I want that may not be equal to the thing you want, but at least like what... I think that's why normies, like I'll consider myself one, like me, are so frustrated by the movement, because if I give you this thing, you get to skip away happy about it, but I haven't budged an inch. My life is still in all sorts of compromise with other people. So what did that do? I don't know. That's a good question.
Right. So, if there's not something there, then, people get things all the time, and someone doesn't get something from it. There's givers, there's takers. There's life, there's opposition, everything. There's, so, it's just, if you don't have something that you're wanting from them right then and there, it's like, hey, great, you got what you wanted.
Maybe I just want to want something because the transaction just doesn't feel. I don't.
You want to.
I gave you money and didn't get anything in return. Like there's nothing I'm getting. You're getting all the happiness, and that's selfish. So maybe just need to let that down and put that away, and just keep compromising, because we normies are just never gonna get everything. So, although this is a super, super fun and engaging conversation, a major reason that I wanted to attempt to get you on the podcast is because you, as a human. And there's a lot that I really don't know about you, so I thought it would be a good way for people that have no idea who you are.
I don't really know much about me either. I don't really know anything about myself. Still learning myself.
Well, then maybe some of these answers... Some of the questions that I had, maybe the answers have changed in the last few years, and that'll be interesting for me to hear how you now see it, having sort of pulled the curtain back a bit. So, how many kids are in your family?
6 kids.
Okay.
I am the 5th.
Which means Brooke is the youngest?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you grew up Mormon, as did I.
Yep.
Do your parents go pretty far back in the church?
Oh, yeah.
Genealogically?
Ouch.
Both of them?
Way deep in the church.
So you've got a lot of relatives, a lot of stock, a lot of what have you in this thing.
Very righteous Mormons.
How did you enjoy A, being raised in the church, and B, being in your family? Those are two, I guess, really complex questions, but I'm interested.
You'll have to expand on the being in your family question.
Okay.
But being raised in the church, it's great. It's great being raised in the church. When you're in the church, it's great.
You did primary, and you had a lot of great friends.
I had so many good friends. We do church every Sunday, the 3 hours, and then you've got, like growing up, you do little activity days in a week. So
did you do those?
I did do those, like activity days with my little church girl group, and then
the youth stuff.
Group. Yeah. We did do family home evening more when I was younger, and we used to do scripture reading in the morning. We'd wake up at 6 in the morning. Yeah, that was the worst. That's worst cruel. When I was little. Yeah, all I did is wake up, got out of bed, went to the kitchen table, and fell asleep. Woke up when it was my turn to read.
Yes, me and my brother used to play this game because it's like 5 a.m. We're in Sacramento at the time. We'd count down the verses to the one that was going to be our verse, and then we close our eyes and go to sleep. And when the person next to us stopped reading, we'd open up and start reading.
That was like seminary for me, for sure. It was like fine. The line's starting over there. I can take a nap. Oh my gosh, I got called out so many times, like, Aubry, it's your turn. And I'm like, what? I'm totally just waking up. I'm like, where are we at again? I slept a lot in class. But no, so, I mean, being raised in the church was good. My family, you know, we loved our ward. I mean, I loved my ward. We had a really great church community.
Yeah.
I made a lot of really good friends. You know, they were my school friends and my church friends and my neighborhood friends. So it's like just we were all
in one. Like you all went to everything together. So it was just
pretty much, yeah. Like we saw each other often. But I mean, as far as like for me, I mean, I always just believed and trusted. I did struggle with some like personal thoughts of like God and Jesus in a way, as far as like being raised, but that was something that I just didn't really talk about.
Like independent observations, or had you heard something for somebody, or did
no, it was just my own struggle of feelings of like I told my mom this just the other day, when people would talk about, so like in church in your first hour or whatever, they, you know, you have speakers and whatever. And I just remember all of the times that someone would say, God knows you and loves you, I would just cry because I'm like, what are you talking about? Like for me, like, so for me growing up in the church was different because I liked to say that I know God knows me and loves me, but I didn't necessarily believe and feel it.
I think
as I was growing up, it was just because I was told that, right?
It's so underadmitted. I think so many people.
And then as I got older, it was like, I don't know what you guys are talking about. Like I'm trying to feel it, but like I don't. And that may be just my own personal struggles along with that because, you know, just not feeling enough, like just all that.
I mean, was there any level of like warm fuzzies or just any kind of emotional response to like a testimony meeting or anything like that that to you associated with what they were calling like the Holy Ghost and stuff, and you'd be like, oh, I guess that's what that is? Maybe,
yeah, just like feelings, and you feel comfort in the spirit, you know, is what they call it, and you feel warm and fuzzy. But I'm very connected to words and music in general, so I get the chills and I get
some of those songs are just written so damn well. Holy cow.
I don't even know like half of the songs.
Like Where Can I Turn for Peace, or like even the children's songs like I'm Trying to Be Like Jesus destroys me. Like just the arc from like when you get to the end of the verse to when it says and the Holy Spirit whispers love one another as Jesus loves you, like that like that, boom, done, tears. Like it's just, and I mean the message is something that I relate to for other reasons, but the melody is so.
Melodies are
a lot. I've spent a lot of time wondering how much of my testimony, if there is such a thing inside of me, is just the musician in me that just connects to like how well these things are written.
Right, and you're like, oh, these words are also true.
Or even like, you know, Kenneth Cope or Michael McLean or just whatever like church.
The Come Thou Fount.
Based. Oh my Lord.
Such a good one.
Holy crap. Yes. And even lyrics. Does that like, oh, to grace, how great a debtor daily I'm constrained to be. Like the poetry of it is like.
See, you know all the words. I
don't
even know the words, but I know the.
I'm a born again Mormon. Like, you know, came back to it pretty hard. So it's
that's true.
It's
you
taken on like
with it
additional tenderness to me because although it's been hard and I've suffered some horrible things having come back that I just didn't anticipate and made the whole thing really bitter, sweet, and to me. There have also been some like just like God right next to you moments for me that have made my continued activity in the church and, you know, temple attendance or whatever kind of weird because at this point I'm kind of just engaged in it because I can't deny certain experiences, even though they're so far back now that I almost don't even really remember them. I'd have to like really tell you the story to even feel the feeling of having felt it in the first place. And it does come back. Like I just shared something the other day that I hadn't talked about in a long time, and it came back, and I'm like, wow, that like it is real. It's so weird, but it's hard to like go do things, especially being single. The older you get, being single in the church is the worst. It's the worst, and I hate it.
That's why I can't go back to church.
I'm in a family ward, and I'm just watching all these people doing what they're supposed to be doing, and I've accepted the fact that it's just not going to happen for me. Like it's felt important to my own continued breathing, like me just continuing to live in this mortal coil, to just be like, okay, you know what? You've swung real hard at some pitches, and you just struck out, and you deserve respect for trying as hard as you did, but we're just going to go ahead and we're just going to retire. We're going to leave the game because, I mean, it doesn't mean I won't hit the batting cages from time to time, and I'm sure I'll date women, and I'm sure, we'll get our freak on, and things, it'll be fun, but I do not anymore believe that what I am is what any woman within that religious structure wants. And I don't know that I see myself marrying outside of it or being in something long-term outside of it. Because I guess I just assume that nobody has enough compassion and intellectual openness to let me be a part of this thing that has very specific doctrines and very specific views about us, becoming gods and all this stuff, and for them to just go do whatever they do in life. I can't envision a person who would be like, oh yeah, he's a great guy because of what he believes, and I think that what he believes, enriches him and makes him a guy that I love. And I couldn't give a shit less about the things that he believes. Mathematically, it doesn't make sense that someone would emotionally be like that. So my point is, I engage now in a church that practices something that I don't plan on having as far as the family thing, and so I don't know. I don't know how I'm gonna make it. Just staying in that pew every damn Sunday and going to the temple's rough in that sense, because the whole thing is about partnership and about the family of God, blah blah blah. So I mean, I'm only a year or two into this process of but I'm concerned about knowing what I know, believing what I believe as a result of knowing what I know, and continuing in it. Anyway, so you had a decent experience in the younger days. The family experience that you had outside of church, although I don't know how much your family relationships were sort of tied into the spiritual aspect or whatever. I mean, did you just socially connect with your parents and siblings?
No, through the church too, growing up.
Yeah.
I mean, we always talked about what we learned in church, or, my parents are very active. They're very, that's the way, the church is the way, and that's okay. Growing up, that was my way too. I mean, I remember in 7th grade, I was probably the most diehard seeming Mormon ever, because one of my best friends started getting into, or started making friends with some bad friends, right? And they smoked pot, and all that stuff was not okay back then.
Yeah.
And I remember I freaked out, and I'm like, well, I can't be friends with her anymore. It was and she was my best friend, and it was hard, because I was just I don't agree with that, and I didn't like what she was doing. So I mean, and that was when I was the church, the word of wisdom, the this and that. And I wasn't as hardcore, whatever, but I did have a friend that kind of, she came from a different background, a Mormon background, but not as this, so she kind of opened my eyes a little bit, and and I apologized to my friend because I'm just like, you know what, like, I still love you, you know, and that's just one of the moments that I remember in my life where it's just like, I can still love a person even though I don't love exactly what they're doing.
Isn't that weird how, like, when nothing else is competing with it, the value system of the church seems completely common sense and just like, everybody should be like this. But the minute anybody steps out of line, you're just like, oh, this actually changes everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, my whole life is about to change because some person decided not to do these things, and now I realize that my devotion, my commitment to these things actually matters more than I thought it did.
You realize, what matters to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my family's always been really strong in the church. I mean, I think we've had, everybody has their struggles and their trials, and I think each of my siblings have had their own. Mm-hmm. You know, all of my siblings have been married in the temple, thus far. You know, whether it took a little bit to get there, but they did it. Mm-hmm. And I think that makes my parents really happy. I mean, but then again, after you get married in the temple, you still have choices to make.
Yes.
And that's the difference, is that every day we're still making choices. Mm-hmm. And every day we can disappoint somebody, and every day we can, you know, make the right choice, whether, you know, right or wrong, whatever that is, you know, if that even exists. But I mean, overall, like, my family still has to make choices. You know, every single family has to make choices. And now, my mom and I kind of had this conversation where it's like, hey, like, you guys, because, so without exploiting my family too much, we're sort of in some different paths, right? Yeah. So all of my family is all grown up and having babies, and I'm the only single one, and it's fine. But everybody's kind of now with their family moving on and making choices, right? And sometimes those families make different choices than the original family, right? Yeah. So this sibling couple might make these different choices and what they want to do with their family, and it might be different than what my parents raised us with. Yeah. And that causes issues sometimes because they want they want what they instilled in their children to be also instilled in their grandchildren. Yeah. And sometimes their children don't want the same things anymore. And times have changed a little bit, and people are more open to different things, and even the church is changing, right? So I haven't really been a part of that change, but I've been hearing a little bit about it, and it's interesting because it's like, well, you know, sometimes having too much constriction is a problem. You know, not having that feeling of freedom is an issue for people and for humanity, I think, in general. You can't really do that and make people feel like they will die, you know, if they don't make these choices. Like, that's not the plan. You know, it's and when I realized that was for me a little bit of a step out, like, where I just kind of decided that I didn't want to go to church anymore because I wanted to feel and see and think for myself without having this other religion that's been instilled in me, and I couldn't keep on just trusting it. I just couldn't one day. Yeah. And it's not that all the things are wrong. I still love the gospel. I still, you know, there are things that I really don't know, and I still haven't even searched. But what I have found is just like my own personal self feelings about that, or at least I know what I don't want. If anything, right? Yeah. Maybe I don't know exactly what I want, but I know what I don't want now.
Which is
almost
weirdly
the same.
A good place to start. Like, if you can at least siphon out what's not working, you might be able to get to a point where you can find a way to allow the things that work for you to just work. Right. And then which is actually kind of where I'm at with the church, where it's like, I don't push myself with a lot of, like, the values or the standards, daily study, prayer, different things like that. Like, I don't really push myself in those areas. But I am engaged with my spirituality. I do seek out, you know, different stuff throughout my week, and I do, like, it's almost like I'm, instead of learning to trust the program, I'm learning to trust my instincts, where it's like, sometimes I'm, like, hyper on scriptural or, just really drinking up the word and really seeing what I can get out of it. And other times, I instinctually, I couldn't care less.
Right.
My interests are elsewhere. And as a teenager, that made me feel like, some evil force was trying to pull me away from the good, and I needed to resist that and stay focused on, scripture study and prayer and all this stuff. And as an adult, what I'm realizing is, although there I believe in the devil. I believe in forces that do not desire our good, and they're working to put things in our life and put things in our mind that'll just make us suffer, that'll make this life harder for us. However, my own instincts are beneficial, and that God speaks to me through my thoughts, through the intents of my heart, through my instincts. And so when there are times when I might be ready for something, and if God, if I'm just sitting there at work and I'm listening to a podcast or something, and I have the thought, hey, why don't you listen to a chapter of scripture, pop out the Book of Mormon for a minute? Okay. I can throw that in, and sometimes it's nothing, and sometimes I get something out of it, or it's just those instinctual moments where it's trust myself enough that if I don't think about Jesus outside of church or outside the occasional temple session at all, if I just spend all my time listening to music or just laughing at comedians or doing whatever it is that I'm doing, that is not a departure from goodness or righteousness.
Yeah, I agree.
And that my instincts, when my life experiences have brought me to a point where maybe I'm ready for a morsel of something, just trust that my instincts and my connection with God will lead me there.
Yeah.
And if I'm that's humility to me. Humility is when the prompting, whatever you want to call it, comes, will you follow it, or are you just too busy? You're nah, I'm good. And you just keep doing what you're doing. My experience is when you dismiss it and you keep doing what you're doing, give it a couple weeks, give it a couple months, you're going to not be happy with life. You will suffer because of that dismissal. However, if you just make a little time, and sometimes it's calling a person, sometimes the instinct could be a number of things.
Right.
But it's in engaging with that instinct that you maintain a relationship with whatever God is and are allowed to be happy.
Yeah.
Allowed to experience moments of happiness.
Yeah. I agree. I think often a reflection of yourself is, if you're following yourself, you're also having this connection with God, because God is you in a way,
Yes.
It's just God. We came on this earth to learn and to better ourselves and to grow and to challenge ourselves and to choose. And if you're dismissing yourself, your own personal feelings, now we could go on about the negative ones that you shouldn't act on. There are differences, right? There's temptation, and then there's just thoughts, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're having an impression or a just some inspiration, those are things through you as well. It's a line, you know. And so acting on that, it benefits you because you followed through with yourself, right? You've kept your word in a way. And that's kind of just what that's all about. It's being true to yourself and honoring yourself first, and then that's also in return honoring God, because that's what he wants. He just wants you to honor yourself.
Yeah. I haven't been able to connect it to actual Mormon doctrine yet, but I'm fascinated by the Eastern belief that God is actually just your higher self. And that what you're trying to do by meditation or by, your chakras, whatever, that you're connecting to the highest version of just who you are. That's what God is. And when connecting to the highest version of who you are, it will tell you what you need to know. It'll tell you what you need to do to be happy, because it already is.
Right.
It's the highest version of you exists and is happy, and all you're trying to do as the purpose of this life is just to connect.
Align that,
and align yourself to the highest version of yourself. And that's what you just said, and it's what I've started to believe about God, but I'm having trouble with the whole Heavenly Father image, and that he's a distinct, entity from us. Like he's a distinct person, and blah blah blah. I mean, I'm having trouble connecting that tissue where it's like, well, I'm his child, so I'm a piece of him, but this higher self that, like, if I'm my own God, that doesn't make sense of that. So I haven't forged that bridge yet, but I'm interested. Anyway, hard right from the religious stuff, because again, not 100% why we're here talking to each other.
My family and the church.
Your family, well, and just focus specifically on you. I mean, I wasn't sure what information I might even glean out of just what it was like for you to grow up in the family. But another thing that I know about you, just from social media and stuff like that, is that you have a history of, like, competitive athletics, which is super fascinating to me.
I mean, I did cheerleading.
You did more than that.
I did. What else did I do?
Were you a gymnast at one point?
Well,
or some?
No, I did cheer. So it was cheer. It was competitive cheer. So it was all-star cheer. It wasn't just like rah rah shish kebab. Like it wasn't just
like the Bring It On stuff, where it's like the
right, a little less petty, but yes, exactly. Yeah, like no sass, like just kidding. On the stage, maybe, on the floor, all the sass in the world, but. Yeah, I mean, I started out, when I was little, I started out with soccer, basketball. I did all those little sports that your parents can put you in, seasonal wise, softball. And I did swim team, and then I did tumbling, and it was, I think I was like 11 years old. I went to, so my older sister, she's 4 years older than me, she's the one above me, her 9th grade year, she didn't make freshman cheer, but she found out about competitive all-star cheer, and it was just kind of newer to Arizona. There wasn't a lot of teams, and so she looked into this all-star team, and I went to a competition, and I just fell in love. Like, it was just the performing of it all, because I like to perform too, and some of my siblings are better at performing their music in front of people, and for me, it's like, that, like, doing cheer was, like, my way of, like, performing, I guess, even though I love to perform, but I'm also scared to do it, right? So, but yeah, so that's kind of when I fell in love with cheer, and I thought it was so cool that you can, you dance, you tumble, and you do all these pyramids and lifts, and, it just looks so complex. And so I decided to basically quit everything that I was doing. I quit swim, I quit dive, I quit, so any sports, and I just went full-time cheer. And, I mean, that was, those days were probably, like, the best years of my life. I was sad that by the time my senior year came in high school, I decided not to try out, because my body was super worn down. I was just tired of doing the same thing, because I left competitive cheer and went to school cheer, which was also competitive. So at Mountain View, like, it was one of the most, like, competitive high school teams. And so I wanted to do that, and we did compete. And then I also did do the rah-rah, like, on the side. But we were, like, way more hardcore, than anybody else yet. And now everybody's hardcore. A lot of the high schools and teams and whatnot are so much better. Cheer's just gotten better in general. But yeah, so I did that. I quit, and then I ended up coaching competitive cheer. And so I kind of moved into the coaching realm. And then from then on, I went to college, and instead of trying out for a team there, I just, like, basically decided that when I was going to go home to Arizona, because they didn't really have a team at BYU Idaho, they had, like, I don't know, I was like, oh, I'm way better than them, I don't want to do it. Like, I had one of those moments where I was just like, I don't know, like that just looked, who do you cheer for? But I mean, I should have done it just because it would be fun for the practice, and just being there for the practices versus cheering on our football teams that don't really exist, like. And I think that's what I was more like anti of versus like just practicing. Wow. So I came home for a semester because I had off semesters, and I rejoined Power, my old team that I first started with. And so I got to I got to go to NCA, which is all of like, you know, the biggest teams in the U.S. And then I got to go to Worlds. I didn't get to compete at Worlds because I had to leave and go back to school for a semester. But I worked out a deal to like be a standby or whatever when they go to Worlds. So I was able to go to Worlds and just get to experience it, and that was really cool. But I didn't get to go in and compete in anything like that, which was a bummer. But it was still fun to go. And then after that, I just continued to coach. And I coached tumbling, and I coached cheer for 2 years at Mountain View. I coached the JV teams. And that was great. I wish that I was still coaching now, because I realized like, oh, I really love it, but I had to leave because it doesn't make me money, and I was younger, and you know, it's like I can't be doing something that doesn't make me money right now. Like, so I went full time with my job and ended up leaving.
So I mean, you're a kid, and you go to an event that captures you so much that you give up everything to be a part of this, and specifically you like it because it allows you to express these things physically. What does coaching give you that can even compare to that, since you're not like in the game but you're guiding it? I love watching like any of my girls that I coached, whether it be tumbling, which is really just like fancy flipping. Explain tumbling.
Yeah, tumbling is just flipping. Yeah,
okay, got it.
Tumbling, gymnastics. Gymnastics, I like to say tumbling instead of gymnastics, because gymnastics is I consider like you've got your bar, you've got your beam, you've got your, you know, all the that stuff's intense. Like, hell no, I wouldn't do that. Like, you have to start when you're like a child, you know, because then you get rid of all of the fear that you would ever potentially have growing up as a gymnast, because so that is why they can do what they do, because they literally remove the fear from them. It's like, oh, you're about to run at like a freaking huge standing object and just like hope that it just flips you up and then you land, you know, it's just like, you have to not be afraid, you know? So anyways, that's why I'm very clear about I did tumbling, or I taught tumbling. I did not teach gymnastics. No way, ever. But no, I love watching them grow and like hit a skill, and seeing them do it correctly, because what I kind of saw myself more practiced at was technique. So I worked really hard on technique with my girls, and seeing them make those changes and then their skill being that much better was just amazing to me. And it like would give me chills and make me excited. It's just like, oh my gosh, like you did it.
Yeah.
Because that was a really, really, really difficult habit to break.
Yeah.
So difficult. And that's just like a lot of us in life, right? I mean, there's so many correlations to that where it's just like, you did it crappy for so long and then you finally made the changes, and that's just like your willingness as a human to change and be better. I don't know. So for me, it was just so exciting to watch that transition. And then complete it, and then they get excited and they can do this skill and they can, you know, so the coaching and doing it took me a little bit to not be like selfish, because for a while it was like, well, I just want to go out there and do it, or sometimes I would stunt with them for fun or something like that. But overall it's like you kind of just I just started to love watching them get better. Yeah. And
have any of them gone on to some pretty incredible heights, and you're just like, oh, it's my baby girl?
No. I did go to so my niece, she dances at a dance studio that I used to teach tumbling for, and so I went there not too long ago. She had pictures and it was so cute. And anyways, I ran into I saw some of my tumblers that were there, because they took dance and tumbling, and you know, so they were updating me on like some of the skills that they can do, and I'm just like, that's crazy. Like, it's just so seeing them now, and you know, but I didn't really stay connected with my cheerleaders after I left. You know, I felt bad for leaving, and I felt a little bit like I was like just not a failure, but sort of just like I'm leaving them to deal with whatever is coming next. And you know, I kind of made a selfish decision for me, and so I mean, I just kind of just didn't stay connected. So I went full on into my job and didn't really look back. And a lot of the girls that I coached with, the ladies, they were some of my friends too, and they all left at the same time. So like there was just no real reason for me to ever go back and reconnect and whatnot. But I mean, just seeing some of them I've seen like, oh, you've gotten married, because this was at Mountain View High School, all these Mormon girls, right? So I mean, if they didn't go on, there were more girls that went on to college that were on Palm versus Mountain View or on cheer. There were some cheerleaders that went to BYU, but I mean, it's a Mormon school, so usually their choice was BYU, and if they didn't get in, then they weren't going to BYU cheer, college, whatever. So
wow,
I don't know. So I mean, usually like after high school, usually after high school, I feel like not a lot of cheerleaders go on from that. They don't really, I mean, they can. Maybe they did. I don't know. Maybe I'm just so disconnected. And
well, I mean, even now that you say that, like my vague understanding of cheerleaders in the professional sphere, football, basketball, etc., most of them are dancers that like just transitioned into it because of, I don't know, either the exposure or the money or whatever. So their background's not cheerleading, like they come from whatever level of dance they were doing, and so that makes sense that like cheerleaders don't just go up the chain until you're eventually like doing it at the highest level.
Yeah, and some they'll stay in a competitive realm versus like a school realm. So it just depends on the kind of cheerleader that you are.
Yeah.
Because there are some that they want to just do like the fun stunts and tumble when they can, but they really just want to be a part of something bigger. Yeah. Or, you know, that's like college cheer or college sports. Yeah. You know, and they're going to college, so why not be involved in something? But yeah, so
I feel like I just recently got introduced to I don't even know what to call it. Like it's this presentation thing where like there's the marching band, there's a bunch of cheerleader-esque people, and there's flags, and there's all sorts of stuff, and they do like these choreographed. It's this huge competitive atmosphere that travels around, and I don't know if you have any idea what I'm talking about. I mean, they have all sorts of things. They have like costumes. They have themes. Like they'll do whole like Lord of the Rings numbers or just all this crazy stuff. But it's really really produced, and to the point that again they go out and they compete. I forget what it's called, but
well, I know
the crap out of me.
I don't know what it's called either, but I know that I've seen them compete at a lot of competitions. They'll have like a whole section, and they'll have like where mascots even compete, and they have a whole setup and show. And then there's other teams where it's like I haven't seen like a marching band whole section other than like on a football field, and I haven't seen the competition part, but I've seen the production wise, and it's crazy. But I mean, I've also seen like at competitions they have just these big, crazy whatever fan spinny things. They've got all these outfits. They're flag. Oh my gosh, the flag girls, like the flag teams, were the best. Yes, they were so good. And I was always jealous of them. Like, what? So much coordination. Yeah. But yeah, there's all sorts of different things now. Like they've gotten more creative with the way that people compete against, you know, things. So yeah.
So at the time that you were coaching at Mountain View is around the time, or maybe just thereafter, of the time that you met me, which anybody listening to or watching this may just have that question right off the cuff, is how do you two even know each other? Do you remember meeting me? Like, or what was your first memory?
You? My first memory of you was going to Debbie Lindsay's Halloween party for her deaf
release
community. And you were playing, and And
Is it a name that you're struggling with? Me and Ross?
Ross?
Ross Chambers? Yeah, he was the guy that was singing while I was playing guitar.
I don't remember Ross.
Okay, well, that's who that was. If that's who you were looking for.
And no,
Who are you looking for? Who were we forgetting? Danielle? Who were we forgetting?
yeah, so there was Danny and then there was Bree.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, so they were there. They were singing, or was it Danny singing?
They did
Well,
at
they
the end.
did, and then we ended up like
You stepped up to like
I
do
was
some
like,
stuff,
oh, yeah,
and I was
sure.
like, "Who's this girl?" Yeah, which is funny because I knew of you before that. Because Danny had taken me to a Landmark thing that you did the testimonial thing at.
Okay.
So it was my first time seeing you, and I mean, as much as I didn't really want to be there, like I'd been invited several times, and they kept trying to get me to sign up, and I'm like, nope. But just because they're my friends, I was like, yeah, I'll go. So you can have somebody there, you can get credit for having brought somebody there, and you're up there and you're just saying your thing, and like in the sense that I just don't engage with these things, I just show up and I leave and get on with my life. Like I leaned over to Danny and I was like, who is that? And she was like, oh, that's Aubry. And so it was a very weird moment because then you show up at the thing and you're with somebody and you're both in costume.
Yeah.
So technically I don't really know who I'm talking to. It's just this little short thing. You played, I was very impressed. We chatted for a minute. You gave me your number and we were like, yeah, we gotta get together and do something musically. Mm-hmm. Cut to like weeks later, I'm at your house, at your parents' house, and we're up in the studio and we're getting ready to record a song, which anybody listening and or watching, if you want to see it, go to youtube.com/BlayRock, scroll down to the Sunday Song Days. One of them is you doing Royals.
Oh my gosh, so
it's
long
the video.
ago.
Yeah.
I need to go watch that.
It's great.
Everybody else does.
So that day, the day that we recorded that, like you and I were just standing in your studio talking, and for some reason, you said something, or I'm not sure how I connected to it, but I realized who you were, that you were the girl that I leaned over to Danny and was like, that's Aubry, and like I just had this mind-blowing moment of, okay, first of all, I'm actually talking to that girl that I like had that moment of being enamored with, and I'm in her house, and we're about ready to record a song together, and I had no idea who she was
all
until
these,
this
like,
moment.
Connected
yes,
pieces, you're like,
and then like I think later that same visit, somehow like I was and kind of try to still be a big moviegoer, like theater moviegoer, and so being on the east side of Mesa, like Harkins is the theater. And for years, like I'd show up, before the trailers or whatever and get my seat and just watch the ads and stuff roll. So for years, there was this ad that was just like, hey, plastic surgery, Carl Hiatt, come on down. And I had it memorized just because I'd seen it so many damn times. And then I just, the weirdest way, I'm like, wait a minute, Hiatt? And it just more like tumblers click. And I'm like, so wait, hold on. I'm in Carl Hyatt's house? And his daughter, it was just so crazy. And then, like, hanging out with you just, like, continued to be crazy. But, whatever happened to... Okay, so explain why we were there. Do you remember why we even got together to record Royals in the first place?
I think we just wanted to do it. No? I don't remember.
That wasn't your intention.
Really?
You told me you were working with somebody and they had asked you to send a track. And you chose this song, and you're
That's
like, hey,
right.
let's just throw together a little cover of it, and I want to send it over to this producer
right.
or somebody that I was going to be working with.
I've forgotten all about my life. Yeah, so my girlfriend at the time, she knew someone that, is in the media world in Missouri, where she was living, and basically got me hooked up with like a recording session out there. I was going out there for Valentine's Day, and so he had wanted to, I think, just hear my voice before or something like that. And so I don't know, who knows? Maybe they wanted to know how good I was or if I was worth it or whatever. So I don't know why, but that's very funny that you remember that because I barely remember that. and it was my.
I feel like you have forgotten more about like experiences of working with people in the industry that like whatever than I've ever had. Like you just seem to have. I feel like I dug something up that you had done that was like kind of a fully formed term. Maybe you sent it to me.
Oh yeah, I did send it.
It was something that you'd done with somebody else in the studio, and it sounded really good, and it was like
That
a
was
co-written whatever.
That was the studio that I went to.
That was it.
That was that.
Where that led to. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, but nothing ever came out of it, and I was just told like, hey, you know that like you don't own the rights to this song, you can't share it, and I'm just like, screw you guys, like, and then nothing came out of it. It's like I helped write this song, so like.
Mm-hmm.
I want to learn how to play it, but I didn't like. So we had the guitarist, and then like we all kind of chipped in words, and then we just recorded it. We literally stayed up all night. It was like 3 a.m, like where we recorded the last take. I don't even know how we did it, but yeah, I wanted to know how to play it, and I'm like, I need to send this to my boy Adam, see if he can like figure this out for me because I sure can't, and it's my song, so I feel like I should know how to play it. And then you sent it to me, and I was like, you sent it back, and I'm like, you're nuts. What did you even just play? Like, I didn't even know how to know your version. So, I mean, that's just like how much of an artist that I'm really not. I don't really know how to play music, but I like to think that I could figure it out.
I feel like what's irritating for me about being a performer, about being an entertainer, about being a musician, in relation to you is, I work hard to compensate for the fact that I don't have like some delightful exterior that makes it easier for people to like want to follow me. Like I don't have good looks, so I've got to really back it up with like, talent. But you have both, and so I feel like you're the type of person that I generally like hope to attach myself to, so that like you can bring the crowds and we can entertain them. Like because there's just no amount of rock and roll I can be that are gonna make people like want to show up. I just have to try so much harder in that category. And so when I see people like you that have talent but also just are good looking on the outside, I'm like, you just need to play more. Because the more you play, people are gonna flock to you. They will. Because the good looks thing, Bush proved it. Like their music's good, but Gavin Rosdale, stop it. That guy sold that band. Like he is a handsome son of a gun. So yeah, I and then like Paramore hit and stuff, and it was just like there's a whole industry here that's just waiting to eat you alive. All you have to do is like put your toe in it. But maybe to your credit, you maybe saw that and were just like, no, if I'm ever going to do it, I'm going to do it on my own terms. And because I'm cursed with the good looks, it's going to be too hard to like manage that. So I'm just going to stay on the outskirts of it. Maybe that was intentional for you. You're like, I don't need all that.
I wish that was intentional. Gosh.
Really?
I almost wish that I thought that way. No, I wish that I would have taken it on more and like done something with it then, but I just didn't.
I mean, you still can.
I still can.
Any day now. And we had a conversation the last time we jammed a couple of weeks ago about the fact that like normally I'd just be like, hey, I'll talk to you tomorrow, but then I was like, hey, if you want to do this, I'm in. I'm ready for whatever day you want to do it, but I need you to schedule it because it's been too long, like 10, 15 years in the music industry of just being in bands and keeping everything together and stressing myself out. Mm-hmm. I don't want that anymore. I got my own music. I got my own thing that I'm doing, so I want this, but like you're going to have to. And then you were just like, if you ever feel like jamming, just hit me up. But I'm like, I mean, just so long as we both understood what happened here, like I want to pick you up and carry you to the stardom that I know is waiting for you. I know it's there. But it would be my fuel tank exclusively doing it. Not because you really don't want it, but just because Actually, I don't. I've never figured you out in that regard, because I guess I just have enough experience having been in a bunch of bands and just having seen, booking shows and promoting and selling tickets and, paying the venue and paying the sound, like just all, like the business side of music. That unless you've got something really good, and unless, again, you got like some good looking or charming or funny or engaging guys, like you gotta have the kind of guys that would like populate a social media feed with a bunch of funny, silly crap, or like you gotta really engage with your audience these days. That like in most of the bands that I was in, I was probably the most outgoing member of the group in that vein. And again, in most of the groups, I'm like the least good looking guy. So it's like, guys, I'm not the one that should, like, I'm the guy that should be in the back of the band picture, like his head sticking up between two of your shoulders, because certainly I'm there and certainly I bring some skill to the table, but you guys are going to sell this because you've got like the front end visuals of this. So yeah, I think with you, like, and plus maybe it's just the girl guy dynamic too. Like I don't know that I've never worked with a girl closely enough to just even know how hard I can push her, how she'll respond to that pushing. Like I've even only heard a few Paramore stories behind the scenes and stuff where it more sounds like the guys that left because they got tired of playing second fiddle to a co-songwriter. Like, she sang, and she would contribute lyrics and melodies and things, but they wrote too. And so she was like, Hayley Williams was Paramore, but they're like, nah, like Paramore's
all of us,
5 people or whatever. And so, although on some level I'm like, just know where your bread is buttered and enjoy it, like, I get it, that they're just like, no, like, she's a sweet enough person, but I don't need to play second fiddle to her because I'm skilled. And maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like what they've learned after having done that is, we're nobody without her. And that's just, even though Paramore went a different direction, I'm sure lost a lot of their fan base, including me to some degree, because I was like, I don't like the new direction of the music. Like, they're still filling, arenas and stuff because of her. So it was basically like, meeting you was like, it felt like meeting my own little Haley, and I just thought, I don't know if it was like help you see what you need to see to like grab a moment in your life and really like try to squeeze something out of it, or help you get like confident enough in your songwriting that you just get energized about it and want to share it with people, or help you just get comfortable enough as a stage performer that you like jumping around the stage and just getting people's fists in the air and all. I don't know. We never got like into it deep enough that I could figure out which one of those was the fuse attached to. That if I just lit the fuse, you would explode yourself because of that, your passion for that thing. I never know what part of being like a musician or a performer intrigued you the most.
Yeah.
Maybe none of it. Maybe you're just a hobbyist, and that's possible.
Well, I know that, like, singing and playing music, it does fill me and it does give me joy. And I realized, like, in these past 2.5 years or so, I haven't been utilizing that gift. And I've been, just kind of like, oh, I'm not that great. I'm not, so I kind of just stopped altogether. Or it's it's not as important. And then I realized that it is important to me, regardless or not if I'm awesome, if I'm, if my lyrics are great, or if I'm not, if I'm good at playing the piano or I'm good at playing the guitar. Either way, like, in my struggle of learning music, or utilizing it for whether it's joy or, comfort or anything like that, it is something that provides for me, and it gives me a different sense of joy and comfort. And I think that I when I was little, I loved performing. I was in music dance theater. Like, everyone will tell you, like, if anybody knew me when I was little, that's how they remember me. They remember me as this big, like, showy person. Like there was this one song, it was called Little People, and it's from the Les Mis musical.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like in the front, like with all my like crew, I basically took that stage. Like anybody, people came up to me afterwards, like these, grannies would be like, they complimented me, and they were like, you were so cute on stage, you did so well, because I was that one that was like, so like, I'm gonna do this full out, and I'm awesome, and it just like, I don't know what happened to me, but like it died down, and I started feeling more self-conscious about myself. And I don't know if it's just comparison, that over time comparison just kills you. It kills your vibe, it kills your anything that's your strengths.
What would you have been comparing yourself to, though?
I mean,
or who?
My family. All of my family sings, and I remember me telling you this way back in the day, and you were just like, what? Like, if anything, that should motivate you, or like whatever you said, but you were like,
I understood
so
your
confused.
point, but I was like, yeah, but you're rock and roll. Like, they're all theater, and they're all
so
like...
for you, it was like, but you guys are different, and you have your, and for me, it was just like, I just wanted my sister's voice.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be as good as my sister, because she was the one that got praised. She was the one that got asked to sing in church. She was the one that got to do this. And she, so for me, it was like, okay, I'm just not good at it, and that's, and it's sad because, and it will make her sad hearing that, because I've never told her that.
Good.
But now it's different, because I love my sister's voice, but we have very different voices. And she's taken a lot of time to train and work on that too, being naturally gifted, but then, she lost her note, like her vocal note, like just she ran into some issues and I had to completely retrain her voice. Yeah. And so she's worked really hard to be where she's at, and I stopped. So for me, now learning like, hey, I do really I like my voice. Now I do get nervous to share it, because then I worry about what they're going to think about my voice. And I think about, my voice being compared to somebody else's out there, and then I get all insecure about it. And then, so because I haven't really done a lot of training for myself, like naturally or coach wise. Like I took like a few lessons, but I never stayed with it, because I had other things to do. So other things to learn. It's just, for me, I never took on voice lessons like my sisters did. I did cheer and sports and stuff. Yeah. So I did choose a different route. If I didn't choose cheer, I bet you I'd be doing some of the same things that my sisters are doing, because both of them graduated in the NDT program at BYU. And not to say that I would end up there, because I didn't end up at BYU really. But
I love even now, even just recounting this, like you're so, you just won't let you put yourself in the same arena as them. You just can't. Just like anybody.
Anybody I think is great. I do that. I'm just like, oh, I just wish I could be like them. So then I just like discredit anything of me, right? So it's a problem for myself that I don't know how to fix. Other than probably just doing it. I think it's just warming up to it.
Or the answer that you may not like, which is maybe just let your ego be your ego. Yeah. Stop trying to put your ego in the closet. Just like be
great. Accept your greatness.
Like, I mean, with everything that I can, like me talking about my external flaws is not me saying that I wouldn't entertain you, because I have like a weird amount of confidence in my ability to entertain the crowd. Not to say that I still get nerves and like butterflies and like it's all there. And every time I get up on that stage, it's like jumping out of an airplane. And I have to like just override the part of my brain that's like, turn off the amp and go home. What are you doing? And I'm like, we're singing a song now. And I gotta like jump off and into it. And by the time I'm soaring, like I'm like, oh, this does feel good. And I know I have like vocal control and I am a good guitar player. It's like I'm reminded every time I get up there that I know what I'm doing. And I'm just like, oh, this is fun. But even as the compliments come or whatever, like I'm still frustrated by the fact that because of how I look, they weren't expecting much when I opened my mouth. Because there's something about that. Like when a person isn't like obviously or physically attractive or beautiful. As an entertainer, you just expect them to be like insecure, just to have a really unpleasant voice, or just to not know what they're doing and just to stumble through it, and you're just gonna not pay attention to them and not let things be awkward. So when someone turns your head and like gets you really engaged in it, it's a pleasant surprise. But because I acknowledge that like it's fun for me to surprise people by how good I am at what I do, but I always walk away. Like after I've packed up and as I'm driving away, I always walk away reminded that, dude, you may never get past this curb in downtown Mesa out in front of a comic book store, because the hard truth of the entertainment industry is that packaging matters. And people do judge a book by its cover. And God love you, you're a sweet young man, but God didn't grant you the best cover in the world. So, again, sometimes I'll meet somebody who has that thing, where I'm like, let's put you out there. And the piece of me that knows I deserve a stage and an audience and just a level of like recognition and what have you that I can't get to on my own, wants to just hold other people's coattails that are just gifted in ways that I'm not to. But I
vicariously live through them.
Well, in the case of you, for example, it wouldn't be like vicarious. It would be like, I guess it would be kind of what the guys in Paramore like went through, where on stage it would be so much fun to watch a crowd react to what we have put together and what we're just like ejaculating all over them. But after the show, to see you surrounded by fans looking for an autograph and looking to get just a minute of your time and your attention, and me basically like just leaning up against the tour bus, completely in vision, but not nearly as important, like romantically to these fans as the lead singer, as the front person of the band. I don't know how my ego over years of doing that and multiple albums of doing that and stuff would deal with that, but I guess I like to think that I would learn from what the guys in Paramore did, that it's like, hey man, you're in a profound position. Right. And it's not to say that of the 35 people gathered around you, 4 or 5 of them wouldn't come over and be like, hey, you're in, yeah, I am, and hey, can I get an autograph and talk to you? Like, some of that will spill over. Right. But if I'm going to let my ego, it's kind of like what I said before about let your ego like do the talking. If I'm going to let my ego tell me that your 35 people and my 4 people is too lopsided, well, then I've lost sight about why I even joined up with you in the first place. It's kind of like, I would love to sit down with those guys and talk to them and be like, have you ever had a moment, either up to the argument or whatever, that actually split you guys off, or in the fallout since you've got another project, have you ever had a moment where you just remembered that the whole reason you teamed up with Haley in the first place is because she's a young, cute girl with a great voice? Mm-hmm. Don't give me this crap that you were just like, no, I heard her playing guitar in the hallway and she's good at what she does. No, you looked at her and you're like, that'll work.
She's going to get me something.
And you teamed up with her and you made this great, amazing thing. So, like, I like to think that, there's so many stories, Stone Temple Pilots, all these different bands that, like, the front man just sort of, like, their ego was hard for the other guys to deal with and stuff like that. But maybe that was part of the reason why. I've worked with, like, attractive females over the years and done, cover projects and different stuff. I think one of the reasons that I was so turned on by the idea of working with you is getting to know you. Like, you are so, like, passive aggressive and you just don't exhibit your ego enough that I thought this could work. Like, I can't see anything coming between us. Even the fanage. Like, you're the type of person, I think, that wouldn't, like, hoard that attention. I think you're the kind of person that if you got surrounded by 35 people, you would walk over to the rest of your band.
Mm-hmm.
Talking to the whole 35 people the whole time.
Yeah.
But making sure that by the time, like when you start signing the autographs or whatever, the other people who are responsible for this thing that happens are also right there. So it can be like a full experience. And I think that just made me think, this would work.
Yeah.
I mean, it could happen. It still could, and it's an option. But you know, we're also like, or I'm old. I don't know.
I'm feeling
pushing 40. It's like that's a strange time to like. Plus, like one of my favorite memories of you ever is you and me and Michelle in my room back in that apartment that I used to share with my sister, and we were like. Going through this song, like trying to write this song together, and I just did something. I just like took the song into a bridge or into a chorus or something like that, and like you rolled your eyes at me, and we're just like, yeah, no, that's Adam. That's what Adam would do to the song right there. And it was funny to me in the moment, but it also showed me that like I've thought about it a lot ever since I've written songs since, where it's like I guess there is a way that I just make a song work. I guess I am in the box a little more than maybe I give myself credit for, and maybe that's not interesting or appealing. Maybe I'm too, like, pop music has broken me in a way where I need to, like, verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, end. I have to stay in that format. Mm. And you see that, and so when I just go into, like, the predictable next step, you're just like, yeah, that's what he would do. And I just think, well then, you do it. Show me why there's a different or a better way to do this. I don't know, we never got deep enough into songwriting for me to like see how you think. And you send me ideas all the time, and they're just like, they're good, but they're also not the type of music that I would normally like seek out to listen to. And you send me like tracks, we've been through Spotify, we've been sending each other stuff, and I get it, and I get how it's like current. It's what people are listening to now, but like, dude, I cannot figure out what people see in Billie Eilish at all.
She's interesting.
As a person, she's super interesting, but her music, her weird whisper rap stuff, what is this? How do you tour this? And she's filling arenas right now. Like,
yeah,
how?
That is a little bit crazy. And people get down to it in concert.
So much.
Like, what?
I don't understand it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just it's the times right now. The times right now are just very odd, different, creepy, or just over the top. With movement and music and Billie Eilish. I forget about her creepy songs sometimes, where they're like,
yes.
It's like, but then again, listen to this. I don't know how Korn, who plays this crazy ass, I don't know how they fill arenas, because it's like, I don't want to listen to any of that.
Really?
I don't know. Maybe I just
like Freak on a Leash never got under your skin. Like God paged me, see the life, nothing. Like
I mean, all I hear is like. Okay, screamo music.
Something
like
takes
that
a part of me.
I see it, but I don't know lyrics. And like half the time with like screamo music, like I don't know what they're saying. Or
yeah, he did do like
death
this
metal, like I don't know what the heck
weird
they're saying, and
Cookie
it's
Monster
like
crap he did. Yeah,
yeah.
they're rough. It's not easy to listen to.
So you just have to consider that there are different crowds for different.
But then that makes me sad, because I'm like, is there a crowd for what I do? Just me, just by myself, just eating the score. You say that, and I. There must be, but I don't know how to find them.
Filling arenas wise, I think filling arenas is like, I don't know, if you want like a huge crowd, I don't know. I mean, every genre is different, so it's hard, because I mean, you can talk about Michael Bublé, who's just, but he can fill an arena, right? And then
but
it's like, who would be into that? Well, a lot of people are.
Guy,
a lot of people are.
Amazing, but I think The Voice proved it to us. Because has anybody broken out of The Voice and just become like the next Kelly Clarkson? No. Why? Because what they did is they were like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we put together a show where we judge people exclusively on their talent? Sweet, this would be a fun show to watch. And then the chairs start spinning and they're like, oh. And that's what we were all saying as we're watching on TV. We're like, I mean, he sounds good, but geez. And then Adam turns around and is like, ugh. And now it becomes like, I don't know, just a circus where they're just like, hey, let's take the funny looking person and make some cool music and make a fun season of TV. We'll make a competition out of it. Somebody will win. Hooray! And they go on tour with the Fray or whoever. And then you never hear from them again. And I think, didn't we just prove it? That this industry is like package deal, and as good as they are musically, like people don't want to pay to come out. Which is funny because like what's his name? Tattoos on his face and stuff. He just like cut his hair real short and he changed his whole image. He's like a rapper.
Is he an older rapper?
No, like brand new white guy.
Oh.
Is like teardrops and you know what I'm talking about. I can't
He used to have braids. What's his name?
Yeah, he used to have real long dreadlocks and now it's like short and he wears like suits.
Post Malone?
Post Malone.
Oh my gosh,
like,
why did I bring
that?
That
That seems to be an example of the other side of the argument where it's like, I mean, I guess he's not hideous, but he's a mangled mess. Oh. Like, wow. And yet, dude is, you know.
True. So, I feel like it would have to go about, like, marketing and the people that you have connections with.
Just be good at... Which is kind of what I'm experimenting in with. Like, the podcast. This podcast is sponsored by my band in the sense that I pay all the bills, so whatever. It's my thing. So... the beginning of every episode and the end of every episode is just like, hey, this podcast is sponsored by Evening Score. Go check out the new album, Farewell Aquarius, iTunes, Spotify, like just this whole spiel that I give. Because although I enjoy doing this, and although I think I have like an interpersonal, style that is engaging, and I think people enjoy this, the reason that I do it is to try to like get a big neon sign to point over to the music because... Most comedians that have started a podcast did it because it puts butts in seats.
Right.
To have a podcast means people can like tune into you, they can like get to know you a little bit better, get to enjoy what you do, and then you can start spitting your dates. And they're like, oh, hey, I live in that city, and I'm going to go pay $25 and a 2-drink minimum to see you on stage. Like, the podcast is a promotional tool, so that's why I do this. Is like, let me alert people to the fact that I do music. And being like a year in now, I don't know that it's backfired, but I think it's just becoming its own thing. And I don't know that people care. That there's like alternative rock music right over there that I do that this is intended to promote. I think they're just like, no, you're just like funny and engaging and intelligent and smart, and we'll just stay here. You're cute and keep doing your music over there, but we're just gonna catch you on this level. And then I'm just like, well, I might just put my energies in a stupid place. Should I just like shut down the music thing, and should I really start like writing comedy? Should I try to like be a stand-up? And that, like, I just peed my pants right now just saying those words. Like it is such a huge fear for me to do stand-up or to try it. I have a whole like notepad on my phone of ideas. I'm always like jotting things down, little stuff that makes me laugh, and I'm building it out. I'm like trying to build like an act or like 5 minutes or something, and I can't. There's these 2 like female comics that I'm trying to get on the podcast. They're kind of blowing up locally right now, and like secretly my desire is that they come on the podcast, we have a good time, they see that I have a sense of humor, and I'm sure it'll come up in the conversation that like I've done a comedy class and like I'm interested in it, and they'll like drag me out to an open mic, push me on stage with a microphone and be like, 5 minutes, don't hurt yourself, and then I'll just be forced to like try it out, and then hopefully get addicted, and then just quit everything and start doing that full time. Just with all my time, but that's my hope. I need someone else to push me up there, because of all the ego I just said that like gets me out on the street corners and like keeps me doing the music thing. Like, I don't know what it is about being a stand-up, but like I just. Well, maybe it's because when I did the class, like, as part of the class, you had to perform in front of the class a few times, so I had to, like, write jokes. And the funny thing is, he instructed us to write simple jokes. He's like, set up punchline, set up punchline, set up punchline, write 3 jokes, you're going to stand up and you're going to, deliver them in, like, just a minute or 2 thing. And my ego was like, dude, I have jokes. I came in here with like other material and stuff that I've never given anywhere, but I'm like, I got stuff. So instead of writing 3 jokes, I just delivered this long Tinkerbell joke. It was only a few minutes, but just crickets. Like just major bomb in this room. And it was a big check moment for me where I'm like, oh, okay, no, yeah, maybe I'm not good at this. And it made me back so hard off of any enthusiasm I had about it walking into that classroom. I'm like, yeah, stand up, I could do this. This would be fun. And I haven't it's like a boxer losing a match. Like I just got knocked out so hard by that bomb that I just haven't shaken it off. And I'm too scared to get back in the ring and do it. But I love comedians and I love good comedy, like sharp comedy. So I'm trying to sharpen my bits and get to the point where I'm proud of them. I'm like, no, dude, that's really good. And then get up there and just take another sad swing and just hope that people laugh. I don't know.
Shoot, I want to go to one.
Yeah, I know. I'm scared. I hope I have like more Mark Maron in me than I think that I do, where like I could just like take the mic, pull the little like stool to the middle of like the stage, sit on the stool, and just talk to people podcast style. Just crowd work and just engage with my own silliness and just be silly. Yeah. And just get giggles and leave it at that. Because I want to like murder. I want to like Louis C.K., Bill Burr, like Tom Segura. I want to like crush. I want to like devastate the room. But I don't know that I'm yet. I'm not, obviously. I mean, I've never done it before. I'm at day 0 of being a stand-up comic. So, and they've been doing it for like 10 years before they even find their voice. But I want that. I do the same thing with music. I don't half-ass music. Like when I get out there, I just sing until my voice is gone. Like I just give everything to it. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm scared.
You know. Sounds like we both, need to try something. Like I need to perform more so I get more comfortable, performing and being in front of people. You need to do more, comedian things and get up on stage and practice being up there and just, smashing a couple jokes, doing really, crappy, but then doing really well. Like me, like I will mess up. I will probably freak out. Like I'll probably forget my words. it's just like, and that scares me. So it's like...
Forgetting your words scares you?
Well, like all the things that can go wrong in performing.
Oh.
Right? So...
Well, what else can go wrong besides forgetting your words?
Well, yeah, just like messing up.
Oh.
Messing up, like...
Well, I mean, why not just, like, get a instrumentalist and then you just, like, sing?
But, like, I'm saying with my, like, experience in the past, if I'm, playing and singing because... I like to think that I'm good at it, but I know that I'm not like well at it, and it's easier just to sing and not play because it's easier to just do one or the other, right? Not to multitask. And I think I just challenged myself with both, thinking this is what I practiced, because when I've performed things in the past, it's usually just been with myself and stuff that I've written, other than what we've done, right? Yeah. So for me, that's all I know when it comes to performing. It's not like, play with me and I'm going to show off my voice. Like that was never a thing for me. It was like, hey, I'm singing and I'm playing and I'm doing something that's difficult for me, but when I'm like, if I'm singing and you're playing, then I'm feeling like, I don't know, like it's like almost too much, I'm aware of too much attention sometimes, it's like, if I'm distracted by music that I'm playing, then I'm not thinking about all the people that are like, looking at me and judging me because I'm thinking about and doing too many things at one time.
I think that's part of the reason why I play and sing at the same time, because there's something a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah.
About
you get a little bit more in your...
Yeah, yes, exactly, that. Which like karaoke and stuff, like having seen videos of myself doing karaoke, like I sound fine, but I'm stiff. Because I'm not like... Haley, I can't just like get up on the, and just like get people's fists in the air. Like I don't. Well, and it's a bar with a karaoke, and that's a totally different thing. I don't know. Maybe it would be different with like a venue and with a crowd in front of you or whatever. But I don't know that I'm as maybe it's just the musicians I love.
Yeah.
Like the Kurt Cobains, where it's like there's something so rock and roll about like playing and singing at the same time that, I mean, I could do it with me, and maybe you feel the same way. Like, based on everything that I said about myself as a external presentation, I don't think it would be appealing. I think I could get people into it. I think they would enjoy it, but I think they would always, before the music started, they'd just be like, yeah, we don't expect much out of this. And then maybe over time I just get tired of blowing people's minds like that, where I'd just be like, I'm tired of the fact that that's the first look I get. Even being famous, I'm sure people would just be like, oh yeah, this is that again. And then, did you see it? Did you feel that? And it's like, yeah, that's what I do. I don't know. I need to embody the feelings of a pretty person for a little while to see the difference and be like, oh, it's no different. They walk off the stage frustrated for the exact opposite reasons. That they're just like, you couldn't have cared less what I was singing out there. You just wanted me to shake my moneymaker. And there's more to me than that. No.
There's more to me than that. Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like, I don't know. I feel like if people are, judging based off of like your looks, and then you have your voice and or your talent that you share, and it's like, yeah, you're right. Like, I don't look like my voice. Some people I feel like would take like that as like a compliment. Like, yeah, I'm not good. Like, it doesn't matter what I look like. I don't know. So I mean, or you can take it in a way of like, screw you for, not wanting to listen to my voice because of the way that I look. Like, it can be looked at both ways. Yeah. It all just kind of depends on where you want to focus, and for me, like, a lot of people are probably not even thinking half of the things that I think, about myself and when I'm performing,
Do you even think when people in the crowd don't even know your family or your sister or anybody, like, do you think, oh, they just wish that they were listening to her?
No.
Like, is it all tied up in her, or
no. I think if it's me and myself and everyone out there is just aware of me, like, say nobody even knows me or my family or anything like that. It's just, it's my self view of my, and being able to perform it well. And maybe my experience in performing, like, there hasn't ever been enough practice. Like, I always do it on a whim, right? Or it's always like, play something for me, or sing something for me. And I'm just like, I'm so unprepared and feeling very uncomfortable right now. Like, even the last open mic that I did, I was so unprepared because I rewrote one of my songs, like, maybe, I don't know, like a week before the, and I barely had any time to practice it. Yeah. I wrote some of the lyrics right before, like, literally, it was a mess, but the performance was fun. Everybody enjoyed it. Like, I made it fun and light, and the people that came to support me, they thought it was fun and funny, but they also thought that I should have felt like been more confident. And that's what everybody always says to me. Like, it's just like, everyone just wishes I was more confident, and more just like whatever, and just singing, it's just, but for me, for whatever reason, I'm just like, know how to be with it sometimes. And I think it's just because of the fact that I under practice. Like, I don't verse it enough, but when I do feel more confident, more comfortable, and I know what's coming, and I know, but so there, like, in my last, like, open mic thingy that I did, there was one song that I did pretty well, and, like, I think I messed up, like, once just because of nerves, and I was shaking and whatever. Yeah. But I mean, I lost my place. Like, it's just like there's just bad things, when you're not prepared. Yeah. And that was my last thing that I did, was just it was fun, but it was very underprepared and nerve-wracking, and it's not a good feeling. And I tried to just make it fun and lighthearted, you know, by throwing in some comedy or making fun of myself or whatever, because I was like, so I don't know where I can't find my place. And that's just a big, like, I'm just terrible at practicing. I'm so bad at it.
Yeah.
You know, in a lot of aspects in life. But for that one in particular, I think that's just kind of what it comes down to for me, maybe. And that's something that I'm just now thinking of in this conversation, not before. But it's just that I don't take the time to, like, develop and practice and make it known and good and whatnot. And I have so many, like, songs that I've always, like, thrown in playlists, or, you know, I've written down of things that I want to know. Like, if somebody wants me to play or sing something, that's what I choose. But I always forget about that list, and I always forget to go practice that list. And then sometimes I start that list and I'm like, I don't really this is too hard. You know, it's just like, or it's just like, like, well, when am I gonna get asked to play and sing? You know, it's like, what's the point? But really, it's like, no, like, you love to play and sing, and it's good to just know it and learn it and whatever, and it's good for you. And then if someone happens to ask, then there you go. You know, but I don't think about it like that. I'm just like, meh.
I feel like, first of all, I don't know if this will make you feel better or not, but I just hit the year mark of doing my downtown Mesa Gotham gigs, which is bananas to me. I mean, I skipped a week or two here, so it's maybe more like 40 some odd performances. But a couple of months ago, because I'm out in front of Gotham City Comics, and then just next door is Mango's, the Mexican restaurant. So, like, most of the people I play to are just like the outdoor tables of Mango's. And I was in the second hour of my set. I do 2 hours. The first hour is just my album, Farewell Aquarius, front to back, and then the second hour is just covers. So in the second hour, I probably only have like half an hour or something left to go. And these, like, hipster 20-something, 30-something kids show up. And, like, they go in the restaurant initially, and then they kind of start filing out outside and getting an outside table. And most of them are sat down on this outside table, not too far from me. And this one guy, like, in my periphery, like, I see him, like, open the door and stick his head out. And I don't know if he said it out loud. I don't know if he mouthed it, and I just happened to catch it. But he was just like, it's loud out here. Let's, like, come inside. And, like, I took that, like, personally. Like, I was just, like,
I'm too loud.
Made insecure about that. And his buddies were like, no, come on. So this guy, he, like, comes out unwillingly and sits down at the table. And I play our rendition of Royals out there. And so I thought, I'm going to win this table back over with Royals. And I started playing it. And I got to the first chorus and blanked. Like, lyrics are just gone. And I just stopped. And I just picked another song and kept playing quietly. And I played the rest of that set so unconfidently and so quietly. And I shut down at 8. And I packed up and I left. And I just thought, wow. Like, with everything I've seen, with all the people's faces that I've rocked, with as good at this as I know that I am, somebody can still get under my skin. Like, I can still get affected. My confidence can be completely taken away by somebody's annoyance of me. It was a real trip to, like, discover that. And literally the next week, I got back up, played Royals, got to the chorus, blanked it again, and was like, screw this, got out my phone, looked up the lyrics, I'm like, gold teeth Grey Goose, and, like, sang my way through it, and it was like boxing. Like, once I, like, got the song down, now I play it every week just to make sure that I just destroy that song, because I'm like, I don't want this song to be, like,
you don't want
like
to
it's chink in the armor. Yeah, like, I need to make sure that everything that I do is strong, so I'm not going to let that night rule me. Like, now I need to make sure I have this song, but, I mean, even, you know, yeah, a lot of time in, and to the point where sometimes I drive out to Gotham and I'm like, man, it's going to be a long 2 hours. Like, I'm just kind of, sometimes I'm just over it. Like, I just don't, really want to do it anymore because I'm outdoors and it's just passerbys and I don't know. Some people stop, some people drop money, some people are really nice, but most of the time people are just. I've been yelled at. I've been like it's all the things you can imagine happen. Yeah, it's happened. People like throw stuff and it like weird. It's not all the time, but like it has happened enough where it's made me laugh at it. Where I'm just like, this is so bizarre. But yeah, I'm like disenchanted by it. I'm like, But once it's over, like once I say goodnight downtown Mesa and turn the amp off, I'm always just like, yeah.
Proud of yourself?
Yeah, like I'm always like fulfilled by having done it. So I push myself to do it. But I wonder on like a professional level, like if I was playing music enough that I could like quit my job and I could like travel around and I'd be playing like the same, 20 songs, 300 nights a year or something crazy like that. I mean, how much do I really love it? Right now I do it once a week for 2 hours and sometimes I have fun and sometimes it just feels like drudgery. Does that mean that I don't love it? Am I chasing the wrong thing? Or does that mean everything sometimes just feels like a day job feels? And that's why artists drink or do drugs or whatever. Like they're just trying to keep it fun.
Right.
And I've got to figure out a sober way because I just more or less don't really like to be out of control. I'm a control freak, so I don't like to be inebriated. I just got to start finding some weird ways of making it fun. And for me, sometimes the funness is like playing like Firewater Burn by Bloodhound Gang or something where like lyrically speaking, it's not something you want to play to the kids. Like, we don't need to water let the motherfucker burn. Like, play something. I guess it's the comic in my head where I'm just like, now I want to push some buttons. Now I want to see if anybody's actually paying attention, and I want to see if they're going to boo this or if they're going to be like, yeah! And I'm like, damn right, yeah. And so it's in public and it's a weird place to do that. If it was a gig, a booked gig that people like get paid to come see, I'll do whatever the hell I want. But since I'm on the side of the street, I kind of have to pace what I do.
So what are you doing that for then? Are you just doing it for pure practice or like why did you start that?
I'm kind of I'm staying gig ready. So like if I do end up getting booked for something, like I'm not just getting off the couch to do it. Like I've been doing this, for weeks.
It's your way of like staying active as an artist in a way.
Yeah. Kind of promoting the music a little bit. Like I have CDs out there that sometimes people will take and drop a few bucks or whatever. I've had like artists come up to me and be like, dude, we should play together. And that's led to some interesting collaborations and stuff. So a little bit of that too. Honestly, swear to you, like I think the reason I started doing it is because similar to the stand-up comedy reason, like I've been out with friends on weekends on like Mill Avenue or whatever, and I've seen people just on the side of the street performing, and I've thought, you're nothing. You've played in venues, Adam. Like you've seen 1,000 faces and rocked them all, but you can't do this, so you're nothing. You are not an artist until you've done this. And it ate at me for years until I was like, I gotta do it. I gotta go out on the street corner and just play like one of these freaking people, because this is the real deal. And so it was partly that. It was just jumping out of the plane. I gotta do something. Like the first night that I did it, I couldn't even do it by myself. I called my buddy Ross Clawwitter, who's in this band called Idiot King. He plays a bunch of acoustic gigs all over the valley and stuff. I was like, would you please come play with me? Like, I can't do it by myself. And so we went out there, like, just me, him, and his family, his wife and his 2 kids. And they sat there, like, nobody walked by. He played for an hour, I played for an hour, we packed up. And I was like, night one. And then the next week, like, I went out by myself, and I was like, this is stupid!
Oh my god, I'd be so nervous.
And then it just became more normal. And then I started bringing my whole PA out, and now it's, like, a very, like, produced thing. And, now I promote it on social media, like, every week and try to get people out and stuff. But anyway, you should start coming out. And as a performer, like, you should, like, either prepare your own thing, and I can just do the sound for you, and you can like just play the instruments and do your own thing, or if you want me to play it for you, I can do that too, and we'll like give you a real serious chunk of it, like a half an hour or maybe even a full hour or something, and you can just and it would give you time to just nail a few songs, stumble through a few songs, But like, make yourself come back every week. Like, it'd just be a staple of that. Mind you, it's summer now, so it's hot. It gets a little hard to do it out in the heat and stuff. But I don't know. That's part of the reason. Literally, it was like I wanted to play out more, and I knew getting booked at a gig was going to be real hard because who wants to book a guy that's just playing an acoustic guitar? Like, it's just not a very dynamic performing style. So I was just like, I just need to find a place where I can just go and I can invite people and it's free and hang out if you want, or just, swing by and then leave, whatever. So it's really that. It's like, I'm going to do this for me because I kind of like hearing myself perform. I have enough of an ego where I'm like, I like listening to what I do. Mm-hmm. And so it's nice to have like a speaker like right by my head, and I can just, there's something about singing through like a microphone. There's something about, and maybe it's just my own control, the way I can control how I sound through a microphone. Like, I like that. So it's fun. It's fun to set up a PA and be like, oh yeah, this sounds sick. It's the only way I can figure out to live my dream right now.
Yeah.
Because I don't have a band and nobody seems to really be interested in that, which is fair because we're all older now, but I want a band. I'd rather have a band. I'd rather be in a venue with lights and with like a stage production that I could design. I'd rather have all that, but I feel like this is the best I can do for right now. And I'm just hoping, like the universe, like the law of attraction, crossing my fingers, I'm just sending vibes into the universe of I'm serious. And this is me showing you that I'm serious. I'm doing the best that I can with what I have. Send me the rest. Yeah. Send me the other pieces that can let me do like what I do in the way that it should be done. And at some point, like if I can just get a band together, the intention is I'm going to find a way, even if it costs me thousands of dollars, to like acquire a high school auditorium. And I'm going to like get a production company and everything, and I'm going to just put together like a show or like maybe a weekend or something like that, book the bands and do everything, and just try to keep the ticket costs minimal, like $15 a seat or something like that, and just play like once a year, like a big show. And kind of showcase it that way. But I don't know, then that just means I gotta find a band, and I gotta find a band that does things well in a way that suits me, which is also hard because that means they gotta do the thing that they do in a way that complements the album. Like, I don't want them coming in, and I've had guys like come in and they start playing with me and they're like, hey, let me show you something, and they start to like kind of rewrite the song a bit, and I'm like, well, that's cute and all, but like I made the album. Like, the album's made, so if we're gonna play this, we should play the album. Like, this is the way the song sounds. Thanks for that, and maybe we'll collaborate on future music. But
you don't want your music being messed with.
I don't see the point. Like, if people are the album's been out as long as it has. I've been playing it in Gotham as long as I have. Like, why would people come out just to hear somebody like us do a rendition of a song? No, we're gonna do like the song you've been listening to. Like, how can you sing along if we've messed with it?
Oh, yeah.
So I'd rather have people know what they're... Besides, like, the album sounds good, and it'll sound better once I, like, re-release it in a bit, but live? It's going to sound like the album, but to see me do it? To watch me do it? Stop it. Like, that's going to be an experience. So I just need to make that happen. I need to. Both for myself, for the album itself. I love this album, and I need... It's kind of like this baby that I birthed that I'm just like, I can't live with myself unless you get a proper presentation to the world. And the only way to do that's a big stage with like a legit light show, with just me doing the thing that I do.
Yeah.
Which is, long sweaty hair and and just, I don't know, good lyrics and hooks and, people sing. All the songs are designed to be sang along to. Like, that's just how I write music. So, I don't know. Just one of those dreams that's deep down inside there where you're just like, it may never come true. I might die having never done anything that I just said, but I doubt it, because the beautiful thing about being single is it gives you a lot of time to do stuff. So once the movie's done, once The next album's done.
You're doing a lot of things right now.
Yeah. I mean, frankly, it's just balm for a really broken heart. Because I don't know what else to do.
Yeah. I wish I could do that.
I mean, you could, but...
Distract myself with a bunch of million things.
I mean, frankly, what ends up happening is, in the midst of doing these things, either making a movie or playing Gotham or whatever, like, I can't escape it. Like, I'll play a song. Sometimes I play No Surprises by Radiohead. I've sat on Alicia's couch and played that to her. She was just, like, laying on the floor, just, like, lost in that song. And so that song's, like, connected to her in that way. And so I'll think of her when I play that, or when I play Wish You Were Here. Me and Brianne used to have this thing where, like, when I was up in Utah and she was down here, but we were talking behind the scenes. No one knew that we were talking, but we were talking and falling in love. And on social media, we would start doing like these like hashtag codes to each other, letting the other person know that this post was specific to them. Like, she came up to visit at one point. We went to Temple Square and we sat on this one spot of a bench and just cuddled and look at the temple. That shit you do. And so I took a picture of that spot of the bench and I hashtagged it WYWH, Wish You Were Here. So the song, the Pink Floyd song, Wish You Were Here, kind of became part of that moment. And so when I play, like, Wish You Were Here, like, I can't not think of Brianne. So, like, I can't get away from it. Or, like, the movie, going to Pittsburgh, like, I reconnected with this girl that, I had really strong feelings for when I was back there, originally, when I was a missionary. And, like, we connected and kept talking after I got home for several months. And, yeah, my hopes were, like, way up. And then just enough evidence presented itself that she didn't feel the same way. Not in the sense she said anything, but just her behavior and stuff, that it was just, disappointment, heartbreak all over again. So, like, even in making the movie, like, editing the footage together, like, she's in it. So, yeah, I'm just back there again. I'm just like, fuck, man. Like, this is not... There's no way that creating art is going to take me out of life. And because life imitates art and vice versa, these songs are just going to keep getting tainted by my experiences. And so the stage is going to be less and less of a release for me and more of a reminder. I don't know what to do about that. I think all artists go through that, but I don't know how they process it. Probably alcohol and drugs. I don't know.
Figure out a different way, right? Oh, yeah.
Did we go too far?
No, you're fine. No, you're fine. I heard a honk and then I got nervous. I was like, I should probably look at the time.
Yeah.
No, yeah. I mean, I think over time, like, the hurt is always there in a way, the memory and the hurt that was caused.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I feel like pain lessens over time, sometimes. I mean, at least it doesn't make you cry as hard as it did, maybe. At least for me, like, in what,
That's true.
with me and, like, transitioning out of my relationship, like, there were moments, like, just, like, scrolling through my phone and just, like, a million gazillion pictures. And it's just, like, why do I have these? I want to delete all of them right now. I don't want them in my phone. I don't want them to exist anymore. All the happy memories, like, F you, But then over time, like, now, it doesn't, if I scroll past something, it's, like, more of it's, like, a sadness, but it's also, like, it's just a different kind of...
I feel like it's numbness.
Yeah, maybe.
And if that's true, I wonder if it's
fading.
like
I doubt it's
healthy.
I don't, at least...
Because your body's, like, smart enough that it'll protect you from yourself. Right. So with enough time going by and you just feeling this intense pain so much, it makes sense that your body would just eventually be like, okay, we're just going to shut off the nerve endings. We're done with letting you... But if that's the truth, then it's really just being buried to, like, get dug back up at some later time and hurt maybe even more or differently. And so, I don't know if I.
Well,
Being
I think
over
it's a different kind of healing process. If you're talking about numbness and you're talking about something that's lessening, like there's been relationships where, for me, I've numbed it out right away, like where I was able to just kind of like nod, right? And it's a different feeling of numbness versus like fading, like for me at least, pain wise, it's just like, oh, there was something that hurt really bad there, and now it's not hurting as much, but it's still there and I acknowledge it. But then there's the numbness where it's like you don't feel it, but you're also shut down in other ways. I feel like if you're so there are other areas of your life that you're more shut down. So it depends if you're numb here and probably other areas, or are you just feeling this and it's just kind of subsided a little bit, and it's either whether you're getting used to it or you've rewired but I don't know. But for me, it's like I know the feeling of numb, and that sounds weird to say because numb is numb, but like I know what that feels like. So for me, in the pain that I've gone through recently, it's all just I've been just making myself feel it. And when you get to that point, I think your senses, everything just starts to be okay with some of it. And I think it's just a matter of how you process things, and I chose to process this one differently. I chose to process it in a more healthy manner than in a shutdown, turn for something else, a different relationship, a different, like outlet or whatever it may have you. But like I sat and I felt the pain, and I played music and cried while playing music, like bawled my eyes out on this piano, like to a song that we once connected to. And it's a really sad song, especially now being broken up. It's like a breakup song, but like it was a song that we both loved together. So now it's like even more sad.
Wow.
Yeah, it's terrible. But like I just got present, and I just like tears were just slowly coming down my face. I wasn't like, like bawling like that, but I was just like, I was acknowledging that pain. That was just like, wow, that hurts really bad. But like allowing myself to feel it. And maybe I'm going super off topic here or off track, because it's just, so overall, I think we all have like these memories, and they, over time, I think they fade, but there are people who don't deal with their pain. So then therefore they're more numb to it. And that's why they end up in relationships that are the same cycle, or that, they bring on a lot of the same things, a lot of the same pain. And so their pain doesn't necessarily ever go away. It just gets masked by something else. And I mean,
just weirdly something I want, like the whole, like, best way to get over somebody is to get under somebody else, or whatever it is. Like, that would just be easier for me. Like, just for something to come along and distract me from this. But that's also unfair, because that's another human who might then develop a greater interest, and really all I'm trying to do is not think about her. It's like The Notebook in the weirdest way, like where Noah has that, like, the woman who lost her husband in the war or whatever, and they spend time together and they like sleep together and all this stuff. And that scene where, like, they've just gotten through doing their thing, and like they're just in bed, and she's talking about, making plans with him, and he's like, I'm busy, and no, and he's like, that I want you to have all the things you want, and that I wish I could give you the things that you want, but I can't, because they're broke, they're gone, and this is all that's left. And it's like a really rough moment that I relate to, where it's like, my heart is with a woman who's actually been remarried for like, a few months, and as far as I know is very much off on the path to this life that she wants, and probably hasn't thought about me in a long time. And the impact that she had on me, like when we were together, was just so profound. Like it's either I can't get my heart back or I don't want it back. Like what she was to me, how she made me feel, how I feel like I grew as a person, like as a man, just being with her. Just, it's hard for me to imagine any other woman having like that level of impact on me. So I just don't even care to
You're not really open to
look anymore. So future relationships, like I'm still me, I'm charming and talented and have the ability to like attract, female affection, but what's that John Mayer lyric? Like, hold on to whatever you find, baby. Hold on to whatever gets you through. I can't trust myself with loving you. Like, whatever you find in me that you dig, hold on to it. Because that's it. That's all I am. That's all I'll ever be to you. Because, what came before you, it haunts me. And I don't know. I would love for a woman to come around and prove me wrong, and just take Alicia away. Like she becomes a chapter, and I'm like grateful. At that point, I'm thankful for her, and thankful. Another John Mayer lyric. Thankful for all the wrongs that led me to a love so strong. That would be great, but it was just such a profound partnership that I don't have any. I don't have any confidence in visualizing a woman that could be that. Or would want to be that. Like even just, she was very broken when she and I like started dating. Like she was weeks into a divorce, 3 kids. Like it was a rough situation. But even that she fell for me was bananas to me. Like she's just on a very different level of existence. And so that might have broken me too. Like seeing myself catch a fish that my boat wasn't even big enough to hold. Like she was just this incredible woman. It just poisoned the well a bit. Like now I'm just like, anything else? Like the last girl I was with, I dated this girl for a minute, and incredible girl. And we still like chat, we still talk. She's, found another guy and good for her, but like, I just didn't feel it. Man, did I want to. Man, would life have been easy marrying this girl. Like, she would have been just good to me and supportive, and I could have just done whatever I wanted, and she would have been able to spread her wings. She was an artist. She drew the cover of my album. Like, that picture of the Aquarius module, like, is her handiwork. But, man, that spark for me not being there just drove me nuts. I'm like, I don't want to commit to a person, like, forever to a person that I don't have, like, a high school infatuation with. There's something about that process that's so important to me. Like, I need that passion to be able to, like, engage with a person like that. So I'm worried. I'm worried that I might have finally, given my heart to somebody that, like, unintentionally broke me for, like, all future women.
Because she's that great.
Yeah.
Like, no one compares to.
And mind you, I try real hard to be honest about my memories. I try not to, like, turn her into too much of a princess. I try to be like, hey, remember the hard times. And I'm like, even the worst arguments we ever got into impressed the shit out of me how we got out of them. I wrote this song called Day Flight to Chicago about our relationship, and the very end of it is literally just like, and how we dance out in the rain and how we dance out of the pain. Like, how this woman showed me that, like, when we've disconnected emotionally and we're having a rough time, she's the first woman ever who would just stop everything, turn to me, pull our chairs together, and be like, let's get reconnected. It's just so... I don't have words for how special I felt. That I was like, you care that? Like, I'm just scruffy old me. Like, you can throw me out the door and 5 guys would fall in the door that you just threw me out of because you're that great. And you care enough to, like, actually try to fix this? And it made me, like, pull her chair closer to me and be like, yeah. And we just, in my opinion of the relationship, we would be stronger. Every time that happened, we were stronger. And we knew each other better. And we enjoyed each other's company more, and like we would cuddle deeper, and we would just like we just got so fucking interwoven, and it was heaven. I just thought, oh, it was weird. It was like all the stories you hear about love and stuff. I was like, yep, that this is like soulmate kind of stuff. Like this is, and it's so weird to watch her like both fall into that love with me and us just like create this beautiful thing, and then to watch her, like I wrote this song a long time ago called Ode to No One Special, where I talk about like you know, you have been and you will, you might have heard it on Delusions if you listen to that whole album, but you have been and you will always be there for me, and I know that as long as we are we, I'll be free. And then you see him walk in and I watch your eyes leave mine. The thought starts to sink in. I know what you're thinking, and I won't lie. It's the idea of like if you put yourself in like a social scenario, like a party, and like you're sitting there with this girl that you're really into, and she's all focused on you, and then some handsomer dude walks in the room, and her eyes like leave yours to like look at the handsomer dude for a minute and like acknowledge that. It's that feeling where like at some point Alicia just shifted ever so slightly to like looking over my shoulder emotionally and started thinking, is this guy what I really want forever? And like just doubted it enough that she was like, I think I should date around. I was like, that's probably a good idea. And then we did like this break thing where I'd see her once a month, once every couple of weeks, and she'd go on dates the rest of the time. And I just watched her over the course of like 3 months just like drift away. Until I was the one that had to be like, after a few like rough dates that she and I went on, where like she just wasn't focused on me. It was just hard, and I was like, "Are you gonna make me say it? Like, I can see it. I just wish I didn't. I wish I didn't see this in you, and that I have to accept that you really do. You don't even have what you want. You're just willing to like." You know, detach me from your life to go out there and swim and try to find something else. And I got to deal with that. That it's not like you're leaving me for Mr. Perfect. I could almost deal with that because my love for you is just like, fine, be happy. But you didn't leave me for that. You left me for the hope of something better. And whatever, she found a dude, and good for them, but that was rough. You're like, man, like just, you know, a whole 9 months or whatever we were together, like just got minimized to, wow, I was a bookmark in your life. There was a rough chapter in your life that happened, and I was the life raft that you got to hold on to until you could get to calmer waters and until you could swim away. And even you didn't see it until much later. And then, you know, that's happened multiple times. I am often the life raft for a good woman to just kind of hold on to until she's like healed. Basically, like I'm attracted to broken women.
You want to heal them.
I don't. Yeah, but not for other people. Like I want to see them achieve healing. I want to see them spread their wings, and then I would love to enjoy the healed human with them that they now are. And what ends up happening is like, it's why I feel the way I feel about myself. It's why the value that I've described multiple times in this episode, like what women have showed me is that I'm cool, but I'm not that cool. And that's a callous way to put that, but that's weird. That's hard for me to swallow and, you know, keep living. I mean, I was already, suicidal in the sense that I think about dying a lot, and I want, it's almost like I'm glad that whatever God that exists made our bodies as fragile as he did, so that we aren't forced to stay here. If we want to leave, we can leave whenever we want, because our bodies are that fragile. We can just shut down this machine and check out. And so, I think about that more often than is probably healthy, but that's only as a result of the fact that, the message that people have sent to me over my lifetime is that I'm, disposable, that I'm dismissible. Anyway, super dark note to end our conversation on, but
one of the things, like, it's interesting, like, how we attract people in our lives, like how you attract broken women.
Yeah.
Right? There's different patterns in our life, and the things that we've been, that we've either dealt with or raised with or family of origin or, whatever it is, we have an energy that attracts things. Like, I'm doing a lot of work right now, with me and my energy and my mind and the way that I'm learning myself, and I've realized that I like to attract people that control me. And not like they mean to control me, but they're people that want control, because part of me doesn't want it. Right? Part of me doesn't want control. I want you to just tell me what to do, blah, 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 So it's interesting that I tend to attract people that are somewhat broken too, right? Like, I like to help people. I like to, whatever, may have you. But I, at the same time, like, in doing that, sometimes you don't get to be a part of their healed process. You just get to be a part of their healing process. And that's hard. Even me, like, I've been attracted to people that will help me, and that I gain something from them, but then our path is done, and whatever, happened. And maybe they didn't gain as much as I did, and to that I'm grateful. But there are that is sort of the way of life, where you attract people, and someone gains something, someone doesn't, or you both gain something, or you both don't, but it's interesting that, for you, like, you are attracted to broken women, but you've missed out on the healed process, the healed woman, right? They're like, hey, thank you, and then whatever. But so how would you, dissect that into avoiding that? You know what I mean? Like, for me, it's like, I'm trying to figure out how to not attract people that, or relationships that want to tell me how to be, or tell me I shouldn't be a certain way, or whatever, and then that just makes me a smaller human. But, like, I'm trying to work on not attracting those people as well. How would you, like, protect yourself from the next one who is broken, that you're attracted to because they're broken? Do you then recognize, like, this is a broken human being, I shouldn't go near this? Or is it worth to dive into that and then hope that you get a human out at the end of it? Either way, it's sort of a risk, right?
There are two thoughts that I have in response to that. One is, I've hovered over that idea, that it's like, hey, there's something wrong inside of you, Adam, and let's fix what's wrong inside of you, and then you'll attract something more healthy to you. And I've done therapy and different things to attempt to identify things that I might not like about myself that I would want to change. And what I tend to find is that I actually like who I am. And so then it turns into a process of, okay, I like me, and that means that what comes is a product of what I am, of who I am, and because I like me and because I'm going to keep choosing to be this guy, those things are going to keep happening. So how do I then deal with that?
Mm-hmm.
And that, weirdly enough, is where my Christianity actually kicks in to provide some really interesting encouragement. Because if you strip the story of Jesus down to like its barest bones, he was sent here, or his role in life, what he was meant to accomplish as a result of him being born and coming down here and being down here with all of us, is that he was going to carry this unimaginable weight for all of our failures and frailties as a means of settling the score with the universe, so that at some future date, we, being free of those things, can then go home to where we came from and arguably continue to develop and become these wonderful transcendent things. So putting it in that prism, Jesus's road is maybe, it's not the same as my road, but it's analogous enough to my road where he gave himself in a really intimate way to and for each of us. To the point that, like, I mean, scripturally speaking, like, he cried out, like it hurt enough that he tried to not do it, asked for an out multiple times, because it sucked that bad to carry this thing for us. But he did, and because he did, I think sometimes about, like, I think being a Mormon is a really unique thing, because we embody this perspective of the fact that, like, Jehovah, the God of the Old Testament, is Jesus, the, Son of God, the mortal God of the New Testament, and now resurrected and rethroned next to God, our God. And I think about the fact that, like, the Jews and, like, the people of Abraham and what have you, like the Israelites pre-Jesus worshipped Jehovah and followed his commandments, Mount Sinai, the law of Moses, all that fun stuff, and looked forward to the coming of a Messiah. Like, even the law of the sacrifices and everything was it was symbolic. It was a representation of the eventual sacrifice of the Son of God. So everything that they were doing was a sign and a symbol looking forward to Jesus. So they were looking forward to a day where this man would do this great thing that was going to tie them back to God, and all of their love rested in him, in this future human that would exist. And they worshipped him, through the commandments and through the laws given to them by Jehovah. So they're looking forward to this time when this thing would happen. And then Jesus comes, and then he's crucified, and he gets resurrected, the Holy Ghost comes, the apostasy, etc., etc. We live in a time where the rethroned Jehovah, who now carries his crucified name of Jesus Christ, currently embodies the love for us that the Old Testament people were looking forward to. He hadn't done those things yet, so he didn't have that same relationship with them that he has with us, because they were pre-atonement. So when I think about it, like, we're in a really unique position being post Jesus' mortal life and his death, his sacrifice, because we have access to him possessing that experience of all of our pain and what have you. And so sometimes in my more humble moments, I look at not my loss of a relationship with these women, but I look at what I was given a chance to do for them that cost me dearly. And I try to just reverently sit in that and say, there's really not that many people that have been born with the kinds of gifts and with the capacities to do things like that. And maybe on some really sacred level, like I was given like a chance to really like help another human being in a way that's pretty uncommon, and I took the chance and I did what I could, and it, for them anyway, worked out pretty gloriously. And if the only collateral damage of that is that I have to trudge through life in pain, because there is no love without pain. You can't love something without it at some point in your love for it causing you pain. That's just sort of the contract that comes with love. And Jesus is the perfect example of that. He loved us so completely that he took an intense amount of pain for all of us. So my limited understanding of and choice to believe in Jesus it comes in a little handy sometimes when I get a little self-critical and I want to change me because I'm the problem and these women are evidence that I'm just attracting broken women to myself. On some level, maybe I have the kind of soul that I'm asking for it. I'm asking God, send me the broken ones, and maybe I'll impress both of us by helping one of them to, find her way to being fixed, and maybe she'll stick around. But if she doesn't, Doctrine and Covenants says if you bring only one soul to it, just one, how great shall be your joy. I am confident in the fact that there have already been several, and the major hardship that I bear is that their happiness has cost me mine, that I have not been able to be happy for a long time so that they can be. And try taking the sacrament when that shit's in your heart, like you're just like, fuck, keep checking into this game.
Jesus.
Yeah, Jesus indeed. You've been so sweet with your time, and I could talk to you forever, but I'm going to let you go and let our listeners go.
This has been really fun. I've liked it.
Me too. I'm glad that you made some time for this.
I feel like we'd go on topics and then I would go away and then we never circled back, so I feel bad. Like I never full circled some of the things. Oh well, it's okay.
Which I've learned sort of happens with these things, and I like it. I like that there's a good amount of you that we didn't talk about that super interests me and stuff that I would love to hear your story on. So we'll do it again sometime so we can get some more of that stuff out. But you are a very rare person in my life that that I have fallen completely in love with, and yet I'm a very I tend to push people, and so especially in love, I'll push them toward either giving us a chance, or I'll just push them until they're just like, get away, and because I just I can't really just sit back and let things be, especially when I have feelings or I'm invested. But you're probably the only example that I am aware of besides maybe one or two other women in my life, that like I have fallen like completely in love with, and the way that you engage in our relationship and the way that you like manage our relationship, of all the women I've ever fallen in love with, is easiest for me to like accept and enjoy our friendship than any other woman that I've ever like just completely fallen for. So part of the reason why when you like bounced back into my life not long ago, I was just like, I gotta try to get on a podcast, because I don't know what it is about you, and I doubt I'm the only one that has had that experience with you. I'm sure there are lots of others, but like there's just something about you that this video and this recording isn't probably going to capture, but is something that I wanted to try to share with anybody who gives a crap about me, because you're just a firework. I don't know what your
I don't
thing is,
know.
but-
I don't know what my thing is either. I don't have a thing.
So thank you for making the time.
Yeah, thank you for
to come
asking
on
me.
the pod.
Yeah, I was really pumped about it. I was telling everybody. I'm like, I made this podcast with Adam, da 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 da. Like super excited about it.
And now you can tell them, and it's like, it's only 3 hours. You'll make it. Just
Yeah,
keep listening.
They're like, oh my gosh, why are you guys talking about slavery? Why are you talking about this? It's just as this podcast like started going on, I'm like, I don't know if my siblings will be able to still listen
Right,
to this
they're gonna
after we
check
got to
out
that point. They'll be like, man, I'm over it.
I love that I'm the reason I have to list it as explicit too. Like I can't, like I have like the 8 curse words that I've slipped in this thing. I'm just like, wow, I'm gonna call this explicit, and everybody's just gonna be like, ooh, Aubrey. I'm like, nope, all me. Like
I tried to keep my words
kept it bottled up, and
said
I
the
was
word
just like,
crap.
plim plam pum. So that makes me laugh, and I'm the reason for that. But anyway, thank you.
We'll do it again.
And we will for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.